Yo, happy holidays, everybody. What's up? Let me. I need to get more consistent music here for a second. Hold on. I gotta really make a playlist of like actual like video game music because I keep swapping between albums that like don't have a consistent goddamn playlist. It is what it is. All right, we're going to Hollow Knight because Hollow Knight's good. All right. Happy holidays, everybody. Hope you guys had a good Christmas. I had a good Christmas. Had a nice break. And yeah, that's pretty much it. that's how it be. Today we got it's probably not gonna be a super long stream today. I wasn't gonna stream very long today. I wasn't gonna stream at all today, but we need to watch this video that David made for me again. So we'll do that. What's up, chat? What's up, dude? Dude, look at, I gotta show you guys something. Okay, for those of you who are like longtime viewers of this stream, you may know my other cat, Baby. Look at my girlfriend. Look at this sweater my girlfriend made for me. I got a full screen for this. Look at this thing. What is this? it's so funny. I'll probably wear that tomorrow. But for the time being, it's too hot. So it's in the background right now. It's too hot. All right. So yeah, we're gonna do a Year of the Wolf review. That's probably where we're gonna start today. No, we'll go from there. I thought return to stream was on Wednesday. I just explained what happened. Listening is key. How was everybody's holidays? Did you guys get anything cool? Anything amazing? Why is like, I feel like the camera should be like a little more this way. Anything awesome? Make it extra cringy for me, George. It's not gonna be extra cringy. So this isn't going on the main channel. This is going on the probably second channel. Go back. Where's my music? There it is. Audio seems a bit low. That's because I lowered it. Is that better? Is that better, chat? The problem is like I don't have a cloud. Oh my god, Hollow Knight music is going ape shit. To be honest with you, I don't have a cloud lifter, so if I don't. I don't want to peek. What's up, Pinkborn? Happy Merry Christmas, dude. Merry Christmas. My country doesn't celebrate Christmas. What do you guys celebrate? My apologies. I thought my mic was good. Yours was pretty good. For me, I think Badlands was as great as the first six, man. We're gonna talk about it. I think it's cool to go back in hindsight because most people probably only remember Badlands because it's like recency bias, right? But it's cool to go through all of them, and I'll tell some stories and stuff while we're going through. And we'll do that. Got some crazy nice headphones. I was actually looking for a new wireless pair of headphones. If you guys have any, like, I've had these for like 2 years and they're kind of breaking on me. So I am potentially going to get a different headset real soon. And we'll go from there. I had Christmas with dinner with GF. Had a few family a few weeks ago. I see. Okay. I see. Yeah, I was noticing you're streaming yesterday with the Santa Claus thing. How'd that go? Pretty sure wireless headphones always suck. Now they're fine. What's the next impossible challenge? I have no idea. I've been focusing on outside of Hearthstone. So I don't have, maybe we can do an impossible challenge soon. It's tough because it's like all I want to do, dude, all I want to do for content is just do those videos with Eddie because I like, or like just anyone, to be honest, because I have so many good ideas. Also, I'm almost finished with the tournament setup, so there will be something. No one streamed League on Christmas Eve, so I had a lot of viewers. Let's go. I mean, who wants to play? Was it Tyler streaming? I was watching Tyler streaming yesterday. I think it's funny to like. I got home from like my parents' house on Christmas. I was like, why the hell would anyone want to play League on Christmas? Couldn't be me, dude. Couldn't be me. What's up, Rolly? Good morning, man. We could do the expansions. Yeah, the Frozen Throne episode's already done. Same as the thumbnail. So at least that's there. Does this work, by the way? So hold on. I can't see YouTube chat though. I gotta figure out. I'm trying to figure out why this isn't working. The other day I was trying to figure out what the hell. But it's like the YouTube one isn't connected and I don't know why. YouTube isn't currently available on this device. Okay, I gotta figure this out after. We'll just bring up because once I figure that out, it'd be nice. Fine, time being, we'll just do this. What are we doing here? Go to sleep, go get some food. Fucking streaming for a new year? Bro, I gotta do shit. This is my job. Like the videos with you and another creator. I just like it because like my biggest thing with Hearthstone right now is I'm kind of bored of the formulaic approach to the game. Like as like you just queue up and play a deck, which is fine. Like it's not bad. I've actually been playing off stream a little bit, but I do really like playing those like weird formats with people because A, I think they're really good YouTube titles, but B, like they're really fun to do. So we're gonna I was basically all I was doing the other day, or I was just cooking more ideas. So for example, like I have single set showdown was one of them. Like tribal battles, so like you can only pick beasts or dragons for a deck or something. Can only play 2 cards a turn. Could be fun. Could be fun. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. And then I got more ideas. I actually have I was talking to Ecor about it yesterday. I come up with another really good idea for a video that we'll do in January, or a stream we'll do in January, which I think will be really enjoyable. That'll be cool. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll do let's do a little Year of the Wolf. How did you guys like the Year of the Wolf? This is the Year of the Wolf, by the way. Like before we get into this, we have Festival of Legends, we have Titans, we have Showdown the Badlands. Most people are probably only going to remember this expansion because of recency bias, but these 2 expansions both have stuff to talk about in their own way. And it was, I think it's fun to go through them all in hindsight. I didn't do this for last year, so maybe I'll do that for last year, but it'll be interesting to go through this year. Remember this year, chat? XD. Fuck this one. Ironically, I like Titans the least. Titans was interesting. I just watched you fight and accidentally spells, but you were spamming minions the whole game. What the fuck? Chance, I'm just gonna time you out, bro. I'm not gonna have this conversation. You clearly didn't listen to what I was talking about. I'll do it for like 30 minutes. All right, cool. That was an excellent first match, dude. Congrats. Happy holidays. If you go watch the video, we literally explain it that minions that summoned are allowed. Like we talked about it. Love the Hearthstone expansion. I'm glad, man. I'm glad. Those are fun. The Frozen Throne episode is going to be interesting. We have to like figure out a way to deal with Discover in random generation. So I hope that like it ends up being like really entertaining, because I think that's my biggest fear for the expansion series is like there's so much nonsense that can be generated from like future expansions because it's all wild now, right? We don't have the twist format anymore. So we'll do this. Okay, let's get to this. Let's talk about this. So what's without copyright issues, just don't use music, I guess. The content you make with their game is technically yours. I guess if Blizzard really wanted to do it all, they could, but they'd just be bad business on their part. Yeah. Can you customize settings for private matches in Hearthstone? Dude, I wish. I've spoken to Blizzard about it. I really wish I could do it, but I can't. They don't. I'm not gonna get into it. All right. Let's talk about this, shall we? I'm gonna just mute the music for this part. Bum 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 bum. Okay. All right. So Year of the Wolf was Festival of Legends, Titans, and Showdown in the Badlands. Before we even get to these 3 expansions, we first have to talk about the last 3 expansions, which is Sunken City, Castle Nathria, and March of the Lich King. I'm going to be fully transparent here, guys. This was a very good year of Hearthstone. In hindsight, the more I think back on this year, I think it was pretty great. Of course, just like every other Hearthstone expansion in year, there are moments where it's just not as optimal just due to balance or the popular decks. But if we look at the mechanics, the theme, the flavor, this was a pretty great year of Hearthstone, which means the Year of the Wolf had to come into this year and kind of match the powerfulness of cards, but also like the flavor. Also, like a brand new classes added to the game in the 3rd expansion rather than the 1st, which is very interesting. I would have done it a little bit differently, me personally, but it's completely fine. Also, this is the mark of the rotation of the Year of the Griffin, which, as many of you guys know, is my least favorite year of all time, especially just due to this expansion. Because of this year of the Wolf had a pretty high bar to fill. And we started off with Festival of Legends. Before I even get into Festival of Legends, I need to discuss something with you guys, which is I think the first expansion of the year has to be the most impactful and exciting, because if it's not the most impactful and exciting, it usually ruins the year a little bit. Because the first expansion of the year is when rotation hits. And that means that a lot of people, they'll come in, they'll try out Hearthstone for the first time in a while because they know that rotation is going to be the easiest time to get back into the game. And if the first expansion of the year doesn't really get people excited, it kind of scuffs the year up. I want to put it like that. And I'll give you a really good example. Last year, we had Voyage into the Sunken City. I would argue this was the best expansion to have to start off because the flavor was really good. They introduced a really good mechanic with Dredge. Colossals were a huge success. I just think for a first expansion of the year, this one was great. You know, it was not a good expansion of the year. And again, I'm going to talk about the Year of the Griffin here. Was Forge of the Barons, because unless you had nostalgia for Barons, this was a pretty whatever set to start off. And both of these expansions, unironically, kind of set the tone for the rest of the year, right? It's interesting to think about how Forge of the Barons was meh, at least in my opinion. And then Voyage of the Second City was pretty great. And then throughout the year, it followed suit with the first expansion of the year. Festival of Legends, I feel like, should have not been the first expansion of the year. Here's the problem with Festival of Legends. It came into this expansion, or this standard rotation, at a pretty mad level. Not to say that the expansion was bad, but the power level of the expansion was not to par with last year. Voyage of the Sunken City and Castle Nathria are two really good expansions. In hindsight, especially, Castle Nathria is absolutely bonkers. Some of the cards in this expansion, so nuts. But March of the Lich King was good after they like buffed a lot of the Death Knight stuff, but for the most part, like, this was a pretty high bar. Festival of Legends did not reach that bar at all in terms of power level, but I'm not going to just base an expansion only on its power level, because that's not a great way to do this, because the expansion in itself was like probably like a 6 out of 10, 5 out of 6 out of 10. It depends how you feel about the overall flavor of like the festival aspect. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure a lot of you though probably didn't think that a festival was like a Hearthstone expansion, because if you go back through like Hearthstone's history, right, it's really weird, because it's like what other expansion? Maybe One Night in Karazhan is where you get it, right? Maybe it's like the closest thing, but it kind of feels like it's out of left field. If you take a step back and realize who made this expansion, like who's the lead designer, it's Leo. Leo is a huge music guy. So if he got the opportunity to make a Hearthstone expansion, he went to Festival of Legends. Probably for most people, it felt pretty weird. Now, that being said, I think the flavor in this expansion is pretty great. He did a pretty good job, man. I like the fact that like every class got its own genre of music, and I like how it felt that every class was really unique in terms of what they wanted to do. Like, we'll get to the cards later, the design, but I think Warlock did a pretty good job. Warlock had a really good set for this expansion. It was cool. But I also want to say that when it comes to all the expansions this year, I think this was the best one in terms of flavor, just because I feel like the keywords they added and the spells and the minions really fit the vibe of a festival, because it's a pretty vague thing to do. Like, there's so many things that can happen in a festival. We didn't get like LSD minions or anything like that, because obviously this is a children's game, but you guys get the point. Finale is a really good flavored mechanic for, or keyword for, Festival of Legends. It fits the vibe of like a finale of a show. It was also, I think personally, I think it's a pretty good mechanic. I like the fact that finale was like a little mini game inside your Hearthstone game. And I think that's like what makes the best keywords and the most enjoyable, is like when there's a little bit of an aspect in it, because finale is not like quick draw, which we'll get to later. Finale is like, you could kind of plan your turn to try to min-max the finale mechanic. And if you can, there's usually a huge benefit of it. And there's a lot of cards. The one that pops in my mind right now, which we'll get to later, is like what is that, Boogie Down for Paladin? Like, that's a really good example of like a finale thing, because the taunt on the minions really, really matters. They also introduced Overheal. Overheal is, I think, a really good mechanic for Priest as well. The fact that Priest never really had a I want to call it their own class keyword, because yeah, they're like the healing class and the removal class and priest, but they never had like a combo or like an outcast. And I think overheal is like a really good way of adding that additional element to priest. They could have gone with the shadow version, but I feel like overheal is a mechanic and a keyword that they can kind of build around for future sets. So this one, I think they did a pretty good job with overheal. They also introduced like Heartbreaker Hedonist, which I think is like a pretty good legendary for this keyword. And they've continued to do, I think they've done more overheal stuff. And we'll have to check that after. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think for like the keywords they introduced, I think they did a pretty good job. I think they absolutely killed it. Otter, thank you so much for the prime, dude. Watch a lot of your YouTube lately. Just wanted to show you my support. Thanks, man. I appreciate you watching. Thank you. Okay, then we move on to the legendary musicians and songs. This one's weird because it's really hit and miss. Again, I really like the aspect of like each class got their own identity for music and how they want to sing their song. Especially like the flavor of the necrotic explosion for Death Knight, but bruh, like the balance here is it's so all over the place. It's all over the place. Like, you know what I mean? There's this moment where it's like, it could be really cool in theory, but then you get these, you play them in practice and you're like, I gotta actually, let me quickly go through this real fast and see which ones are actually playable. Cause I can't remember which ones are actually like good. And that's not a great way of like doing this. Okay, so we're talking about purely from class perspective. Death Knight got Cage Head and Climatic Necrotic Explosion. Both of these kind of sucked ass. I don't think either one of these would be considered good. Like they're playable, but they're not good. Demon Hunter got, okay, she was nuts. Let's be real here. She was very good. Kind of forgot about her. Did she end up getting nerfed? No, maybe like the Rush deck just got nerfed. This deck was actually pretty fun. One of the best Demon Hunter decks in a hot minute, but this card was good. This card got buffed because it was weak, but now it sees somewhat play. What did Druid get? Zog saw play. It's funny. It's always the Druid problem, bro. Druid always gets insane cards, or they get like a card like this. Oh man, that's rough. Anyways, you get the point. We can go through all of them, but like they're really hit and miss. Some of them were nuts. Some of them were really good. I think overall the mechanic was cool. Like, or not the mechanic, the identity of the musicians and songs were really interesting, but kind of not in terms of power level. They probably could have made them a little stronger. And that's kind of like Festival of Legends' biggest problem, is a lot of the cards kind of just were like, whatever. And then we move to like instrument weapons, right? The weapons in the set are also like really iffy, because they're either like really good or really bad. If you go through all of them, like this card was fine, right? This card was fine. This card is great. It's actually one of the best mage cards I've seen in a hot minute. Like this is a pretty good card. This one, is this card even played? I don't think so. What's up, Warshock? We're doing well, man. Happy holidays. This card did see play. This card was good. This card was played. Absolutely nuts. This card is played kind of. This card didn't really see play. This card did end up seeing play. Again, really hit and miss as you keep going. This is a card that I thought for sure would see play because it's not bad, but then we got the weapons from Titans, and then I think this card just exploded. Yeah, it's bad. This card, again, didn't see play because there's no time for you to actually queue up the weapon. This card's insane, but I'm not, I think this card came out in the mini set, right? So weapons are insane arena. Yeah, I'm not talking about arena. I don't have enough information about arena. Then we got harmonic spells. Another really cool idea for a spell, which we've seen before. This is like the Worgens from, what's that expansion called? The Witchwood, right? This is like the, if you guys don't remember what this is, it's stuff like, what the hell, am I stupid here? Hello? It's stuff like this. Wait, no, not this one. There we go. One like this, where it swaps each turn. Again, kind of a really cool idea in theory, but the problem is like some of them are just bad, some of them are good. There's not a lot of like really big outliers here, and that's probably like Festival of Legends' biggest problem, is just it's too meh for its power level. Like rifts are fun, yeah, like, but remember, like they had to be buffed quite a bit. And even after its buff, Warrior was still kind of whatever until Titans came out. Titans was like a big deal for Warrior, as far as I remember, right? It's been like, if you think, God, it's crazy to think like when did Titans come out? Titans came out in July, or is it August? It might have been August. I think it's July though. I can't remember. We also got the Stunning Soloist. This type of card was interesting design because I mean the flavor again is on point in this expansion. I love the expansion or the flavor of this expansion. It's cards like this is a good one. If you control no other minions, really good flavor for like what a soloist should be. And some of them again, I'm surprised on some of them. Like I think there was a really good chance that some of them could saw play. The one that I'm really surprised about is the Warlock one. Like this isn't a bad card, and it kind of fits the vibe for the soloist and like the control Warlock archetype. But again, there was just better stuff to do. What was the best deck in Festival of Legends? Does anyone remember? I can't remember for the life of me. I remember Death Knight was pretty good. I'm sure Paladin was good just because of the weapon. I think Paladin was really. Oh, that's when I did the free to play video series. Oh my God, you know. That was crazy shit. Oh, then remember this card? Oh, this is a card. We'll get there after. We'll get there after. Anyways, overall for the mechanics and the features itself, I think like Festival of Legends was, in terms of flavor, a really good mechanic. But remember when I said how the first expansion of the year really sets the tone for the rest of the year? Me personally, and this might be a hot take, but I would have put Titans first. Like if I was thinking just for like player retention and people getting excited for like the future of Hearthstone for the Year of the Wolf, I would have put this expansion first. And I'll get there very shortly why. I'm not saying Festival of Legends is a bad expansion for the record. I don't think it's a bad expansion at all. I think it's like pretty for all throughout Hearthstone's history. Festival of Legends is pretty good. Like especially because like in terms of flavor, that's like the real thing I want to show you. Let's just go through some of these cards first and foremost. I'm trying to remember what actually was in this expansion because I know it's been less than a year. But God, I can't remember most of this. Card was nuts. It's actually kind of amazing how like they don't update the cards on this. Like this is a 1/1. This card was cool. The hero power mechanic for Festival of Legends was really interesting. Kind of a big fan of it, and not because I revealed them, but I think they were pretty fun. Like I think adding an additional element to like Druid so it doesn't just do ramp is enjoyable. I think it's a really good time. I really like I talked about earlier, like the Warlock class was really cool here. Even though not all of the cards really hit, like they had a really cool identity. Really like the immune package and taking fatigue. I thought that was super fun. This card ended up sucking, unfortunately, but I thought it was really, really cool. It had a lot of potential. Just kind of sucks. This is a really good card. Like this kind of cements like Festival of Legends in a nutshell. Like audio amplifier, flavor wise, awesome, dude. But was it really playable? Kind of. And that's what Festival of Legends really came down to. That being said, we did introduce a card called Instrument Tech that absolutely broke Wild, right? Absolutely broke it. That card was pretty fucking nuts. This card, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw the short of where I did the top 10 cards of the year. This card's really cool. Like, and the more I think about the flavor and design of this card, the more I really like it. This is probably one of those cards that didn't really strike as really interesting for a lot of people, but it ended up being a card that I think a lot of people can look back in hindsight. Like you're never mad when your opponent plays Photograph or Fizzle, but it also feels pretty good to play it, which I think is like the highest bar a Hearthstone card can go for. Because if they're trying to make a game fun, you want to make it positive fun for like the players. And when you play a card and your opponent doesn't like groan or anything like that, I think that's awesome. Like I think it's really well designed. Speaking of really well designed cards, this is my favorite card of the year by far. I think no Hearthstone card has ever, well, at least this year, has ever reached how awesome this design is and how great it feels to play with and against. This is peak Hearthstone design in my opinion. I fucking love it. I hope to God when this card rotates out of standard, they keep it in just because it's again, it's a card that like I don't think any single person goes like, holy fuck, they just played ETC, this game is trash, right? Because when someone plays ETC, it's like, oh, that's kind of sick. Like I wonder what they're pulling out of their ETC. Also, flavor on this card is goated. Like the band manager pulling someone from your band to come in, bro. Insanely well designed card.
trying to think if there's any other. Remember this card? I remember when people told me, this is going to be me gloating for a quick second. I remember people telling me that Pawsec was a bad card because they're like, oh, why would you ever want to play something like this? Remember when it got nerfed, chat? Remember when it was too good? Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. I'm here for that. Now, don't remind me of all the times I got shit wrong. But this card this card ended up being pretty good. I'm trying to remember what else was really interesting this set. This card ended up being cool. You know, it really stings me, man, that they had the old version of Tony on the screen. But this is my favorite card of the year until they changed it. I loved it. I thought it was so cool. I just... They really murdered my boy. He's no longer nearly as cool anymore. The most useless thing I own is in the set. Yeah, I think Tony, like, this design of Tony was not great for the game because it really limits design. This is a card that kind of puts a lot of cards into, like, if we print this card, Tony's going to be fucking annoying to play against. And I understand why they killed it or they changed it. I'm still sour about it, though. I'm going to be real with you. I kind of miss it. I miss it a lot. Oh, I miss it so much, man. It was so cool. Oh, anyways, without going too much into Festival of Legends, I think it's fair to say Festival of Legends was a good expansion. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was the most powerful. I don't think it was the best expansion I've ever played. But in terms of what it was and what it was going for and something that's so out of the box for Hearthstone, I think they did a pretty good job. But my biggest complaint about Festival of Legends is it shouldn't have been first. I would have put Titans first. And let me explain why. Let me actually do this real fast. So Titans introduced, what's the name of the mechanic they introduced in Titans? I can't remember. Was it Big Gods? Powerful beings shape your board? Oh, no, it was Titans. No, they introduced Titan. That's what they introduced to the game. Titans was a really fucking good keyword. Really good keyword. And I think personally, Titans should have been there right at the start of the Hearthstone year because kind of like how Ungoro introduced quests, which was a really good time in Hearthstone, Titans could have been the exact same thing. And I personally think Titans would have shined a lot more with it being the first expansion because one card I didn't actually talk about from Festival of Legends is this card. This card being added to the game kind of really limited what Titans were playable because your Titan had to do something pretty powerful immediately. Otherwise, this card just said, fuck your Titan. I'm going to take it and you're going to cry yourself to sleep tonight. Would there be some balance changes that they would have to do? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think like if they put Titans first, I think a lot more people would have been excited for the year just because the introduction of like a brand new keyword is insane. I think every Titan saw play, right? If I remember correctly, again, I could be wrong. I could be very wrong here, but I'm pretty sure almost every Titan saw play, if not all of them. I don't remember all the Titans though. Hold on. I gotta look. Rarity, legendary. Okay. You saw play, but you're not a Titan. Give me the Titans, baby. Give me the Titans. Okay. I could just type in Titan. I just realized that. I forgot it as the keyword. I was just talking about it. Okay. Saw play. Sees play. I wouldn't say it's goated or anything, but it's tested. It's not like the worst thing in the world. Norganon, I mean, if you want to be spicy with it, you definitely could put it in. I mean, it's not it's not a bad card. It's just not like insane. Great, crazy good card for Control Priest. Pretty good card for Paladin. This card is actually like one of those cards that I think, I hope they do more design like this. I think that your minions can't take more than 2 damage at a time is really interesting. Then we have Argus, which again, I think Argus would have benefited a lot if it was from the first expansion, just because the keywords that it generates would have been a lot better. The Primus obviously saw play. Sargeras. I think this is the one that they would have to change slightly if they release Titans first. But overall, like this is the old Yogg, but I think it's pretty safe to say like every single Titan saw some kind of play, which is kind of nice. I think it's really cool to have an expansion in a keyword where like their main reason to play it is all being played. And I'm sure they could have buffed some cards if they absolutely need to or nerfed it, but I'm a huge fan of Titan. And I feel like looking back at this year, Titans has been a really good inclusion to Hearthstone. And also, we're talking about probably one of the most interesting keywords ever, because what a lot of people, including me, oh, Voltron, what the hell is his name? Where is that guy? Does he not have Titan? Wait, does he not have the word? Huh? Is he not here? Oh, it's because he's spelled like bruh. Come on, Hearthstone. Come on, Hearthstone. I feel like, okay, this is off topic, slightly off topic, but I feel like if you write Titan just for like user interface, like they could just, I don't know, fucking put it. Okay, anyways. And so then they had Forge. A lot of people probably thought Forge was going to be a pretty bad mechanic, me included, right? Why would I want to spend 2 mana when spending 2 mana on a hero power feels awful? But then I think a lot of us probably realize now that Forge has been a pretty great mechanic. And I think it's just, you know, partially because the cards that they gave Forge to are actually pretty great. Also, there's Ignis, which we'll get to later, because he's one of my like problems with this expansion. But I think we could all agree that Forge is a pretty great mechanic. And I am hoping to God, that they don't just leave this keyword in fucking Titans. Please continue using this one, because it's cool. It's cool to have a card that you can make up, or you can make it better just by spending 2 mana, right? And I feel like everyone really likes this expansion, really likes this keyword. I don't think there's a single person that says fuck Forge. Although, Rarran, I got a little question for you. What's your favorite class? Also, what do you think about Warlock right now? My favorite class is Warlock. I think isn't Warlock bad right now? I have no idea. Anyways, I really like the Forge mechanic. I think Forge mechanic is good. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the one thing I really don't like about Titans is that they brought back Magnetic. I feel like they could have done something a little better. Like, you know, bringing in an old key. I get there's mechs and stuff, but I don't think anyone was like, yes, dude, Magnetic's back, baby. I don't think anyone was saying that. Most of the time, Magnetic feels kind of meh to play against. I guess as you play with it, like the rogue deck was disgusting, right? The rogue, if you were there at the start of Titans, the rogue deck was really good. I am not personally a huge fan of the Magnetic. I think Ziliax is like the highest point we can really get with Magnetic, and there's some cool like interactions with it. I'm not a huge fan of it. We also got the Legendary Keepers. Now, surprisingly, a lot of these cards were almost playable to being really good. I'm going to say something. This might be very controversial here. This is one of the coolest cards we've seen in a very hot minute. I'm just going to put it out there. I fucking love when they break the game that we're used to. Like, this is a dope ass card and it feels so good to play with. I mean, losing the game never feels great. So there's going to be someone who goes, I hate this card. But I think for what Warrior wants to be, this is the card, dude. Imagine if they released this in the first expansion of the year. Oh my God, we would have been cooking all year round. But again, really fucking sick card. Cyber Lexi, thank you for the sub. Big appreciation for that. Thank you so much. I love this card. I think it's really, really cool. And then it's funny looking at that card and being like, oh, what did Hunter get? Oh man, that's tough. It's unfortunate. I'm trying to think of like what else. This card's got a little bit better. I mean, Sif's my girl, dude, so that's pretty sick. This card doesn't really see play. Yeah, kind of, you know, like again, Titans definitely increased the power level quite a bit. We're seeing a lot of this card right now. You know what, dude? I'm also gonna say this. Like, this is weird to me. I hate playing against Plague Death Knight. Every time I play against it, I'm like, it's not that I think it's overpowered or anything. It's just I don't know it's so boring to play against, because all they do is remove your shit and then you draw more plagues, and it's like, okay, bro, like I don't want to do this. I will talk about this. Ignis is a card that I think is really interesting in design because it encourages you to want to forge, which is great. I really like the fact that like the main mechanic has a really good support card, but I don't know about you guys. I would get rid of this keyword off the weapon and make every other part of the weapon just a little bit stronger, right? Like maybe you make it so the death rattle procs after you swing. I don't know, something like that. It just like, I feel like the different, like now that we play this card with a lot, like I feel like the difference between getting Wind Fury and not getting Wind Fury is so fucking ginormous. It makes me want to like scream when I don't get it, because it just feels awful. Like you just know that your power level just significantly drops, and that's not great for anybody, bro. Like you want to play the game and you want to have fun with the game, and like when you don't get the high, anyways, I just feel like it's night and day difference when you don't get the Wind Fury aspect of it. But I think it's a really, really cool card. In terms of flavor, I don't know anything about. I think this is Uldawar. Is that where it's from? I don't know anything about it. So I'm gonna need the World of Warcraft experts in chat to let me know if they did a good job with this expansion, because I don't fucking know anything. I will say, by the way, the man on the screen right here, I talked about how Leo did he was the set lead for Festival of Legends. I like Leo a lot. I think he's a very swell man. I loved hanging out with that BlizzCon. I don't really know this man. His name is Alex, but I did get to know him at BlizzCon. I actually hung out with him quite a bit. He's a very fucking nice guy. Not canon at all. Okay, great. Alex is awesome. Fucking awesome, dude. And this is, I think, his first set lead as well. So it's cool that they gave everybody like a chance to really shine here, because Showdown in the Badlands was from Gallon, which is really cool. But you know what, man? I think Titans was a pretty good expansion as well. It kind of blows my mind of how cool this expansion is. Now, the metagame is where we get really interesting here, because I feel like the metagame was kind of fucking bonkers, but maybe that's because Festival of Legends was so weak compared to Titans. But I feel like Titans really added some fucking spice to the game that it desperately needed. Like I feel like looking back at Festival of Legends comparatively, that's why I think, me personally, I would have put Titans first. Like I would have dropped a banger on this expansion. I would have dropped the banger right at the start of the year. But it's obviously, in hindsight, they didn't know how good this expansion was going to be. I guess maybe they did. They had a really, really good idea. So I would put Titans first. I think it's a really good year. That's my thesis of this year. But overall, like I think Titans was pretty good. Looking at the cards, let's go take a little peek here, shall we? Let's see what's popping. Let's see what we got. We don't need legendaries here. What do we got? We got robot boys that get bigger. Oh, this fucking card, bro. God, I hate this fucking card. Twiggy, thanks for the sub, dude. Ruru is the GOAT. I appreciate it. Thank you, man. We had the Nature Shaman. Okay, hold on. I might take this back. Oh, God, fucking Nature Shaman. We had Mekrug at the start. Mekrug really sucked. So after they nerfed it, the expansion got a lot better. Some really good cards in here. Like, I love this card, dude. I love this card. Anomalies. Yeah, how did you guys feel about anomalies? You know, I feel like I feel like everything outside of the competitive game, I feel like anomalies were pretty fun. I'm actually kind of a huge fan of them. Like, I think they added I'm someone who is completely on the realm that like I'd like when they change the formula up. So like I would really appreciate them doing some stuff like this. Not all the anomalies were great, but I feel like the idea of the concept, the theory was really cool. Like I really, really liked it. I hope they do more stuff like this. I hope they don't shy away from doing more anomalies. I feel like it was a pretty good time. They should have kept them despite Reddit going berserk. Okay, here's a question for you guys. Do you guys really think that like Reddit has enough pull for them to make decisions? Like, do you guys think they browse r/Hearthstone? Like, as if they do, I'm going to start posting there and start saying some shit. I'm going to make a case for reverting Tony. I'm going to make a case for reverting Tony. And I need all of you guys to upvote that shit as high as possible so I can use my boy once again. Okay, anyways, let's be a little bit more serious here. Also, absolutely huge fan of this card. I remember we all saw this card and said, God, this card sucks ass. But then it kind of got a lot better. And I think this card is one of the most fun cards to play with and against, because it really reminds me of Yogg. It really does. I can't believe 4 spells at a time can be so impactful and do so little at the exact same time. It's absolutely ridiculous. Clip for vote manipulation. Yo, Pinkward, if I get banned off Reddit, it's not bad, dude. It's probably good for me. So I'll take it. F that card. You must hate fucking Yogg. You must hate him. I've had basically, like, when it comes down to this card right here, I have had more fun moments with this card than a lot of other cards previously. This is just a fun card, and I feel like this is just the perfect amount of RNG that really gets me going. Like, it gives me that dopamine hit every single time that makes my like goblin hand want to click more cards. So I'm here for it. I'm completely here for it. I think that this card is awesome. I'm really glad they haven't nerfed it yet. And I'm a huge, ginormous fan. Honestly, looking back at this expansion, this is a really good expansion. I liked it a lot. And it's hard to like really poke holes in it other than like Macrog at the start. I'm a big fan. You know what? I'll give this expansion like an 8 out of 10. I think this is a good expansion. This is a great expansion. I'm not sure how a lot of you guys feel, but I think like looking back on it and looking at the cards that were introduced in the metagame, like I had fun with this expansion. I just think that Odin is so fucking sick. I will say this though. The Warlock deck that used Forge of Wills and cheated out Thaddeus, fucking blow me, dude. Blow me. Fucking blow me. I think that design is horrific, but that's a Thaddeus problem more than anything else. You know what I mean? All my homies hate Thaddeus, if I'm gonna be honest. Yo, Warshak, this is a prime, my guy. Warshak, I'm actually gonna message you soon. I have I'm making a creator tournament with the cool Poggers idea, but I'm not telling anyone what it is. How is Prison of Yogg fun? Yeah, I can win you games, but the victories never felt good for me. Okay, let's just imagine a world where like we're different people and we like different things. You know, like I think it's fun. I think hitting a button and watching RNG fly is awesome. Okay, anyways, let's lead this to our last expansion, Showdown in the Badlands. Showdown in the Bad. Oh, I gotta talk about one thing with this expansion actually. The trailer sucked ass. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I don't know what the fuck they were doing with this nonsense. What the hell is this? Did they? I don't know what happened. Did they lose the budget? Did anyone know? No idea. But this was like the most un-Hearthstone expansion. If they fucking gave a shit for this one, I don't know what the fuck where they were smoking on that one, bro. Anyways, let's go to the Showdown in the Badlands. Now, I gotta be fully transparent here, chat. I'm gonna be fully transparent here. I gotta tell you guys a little story. I thought this expansion was gonna suck, but I thought it was gonna suck because they showed the neutrals first, which I think is a really good idea. But those neutrals looked like hot dog. They looked like hot dog. Like, and I can get those at Costco, so why would I want to put them in Showdown in the Badlands? You know what I mean? Skull, what's up, dude? Yes, you don't look very transparent. I can still see. Okay, Skull, shut the hell up. Thanks for the prime though, bro. I appreciate it. Skull, I actually might need you for something else as well. That reminds me. So they look kind of ass, and I remember going to BlizzCon and talking to Gallon. Also, if you didn't know, Gallon did this one, which was really cool. So that means every expansion this year they gave to kind of one of the newer people of Hearthstone. So Leo did this one, Alex did this one, and Gallon did this one. All of them, by the way, in person, phenomenal people. They're awesome people. And as much as I'm not fully on board with how they're handling Hearthstone, like I wish they would do different stuff, I think the people who are designing the cards, for the most part, okay, I should say that a little bit different. I think the people who are designing the cards are awesome. Is every card good? I mean, I'm not going to mention some Thaddeus. I'm not going to mention some mana cheating. But let's be real here. If I compare this year to this year, I would marry this year comparatively, right? So I'm really happy with the team over here. So let's be real here. Okay, Showdown in the Badlands. Here's another hot take for you. I think this would have been also a really good expansion to put number one because the Highlander. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Highlander is kind of cheating. Highlander is this like this keyword that if you put it in, people are going to be like, oh, I'm trying this expansion out for sure. And that kind of proves my point, by the way, that like the best thing about Hearthstone is when they break the mold. Like we don't need combo decks every expansion. We don't need like decks that just play minions. Like having deck building exercises and changing the formula of the game, I think really adds to what makes Hearthstone fun. Highlander, I think people really liked. We could talk about Reno all you guys really want, but I mean, Reno's not that bad. I think the more I play with them, or the player against them, I'm like, whatever. I think it's really cool. And I'm actually really excited to see how Highlander looks for the next expansion. Because like after the rotation of Festival of Legends, after the rotation of these three expansions, this shit's gonna go hard. Or not hard. They're gonna be like better. I think the Paladin one's gonna really shine. But that's before I even know what the next expansion is. I also want to put a little before I continue with Showdown in the Badlands. Can we just talk about how this fucking card right here? Wait, let's make this on it. Where did I have one that was okay? I'll just go fuck myself. Hold on. Can we just talk about real fast how this card is literally the greatest thing they've added to Hearthstone in the hottest minute? And it's almost like I've been saying this entire time, by the way, that changing the formula of Hearthstone is what makes Hearthstone fun. So Hearthstone team, I don't even know if they watch my videos, but if you made it this far into this video, could we make more cards like this, please? Also, when this card rotates, could you either nerf it fully or keep it in the game? Because I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss this card more than I'm gonna miss any other card in existence. Like, this card's bomb. Okay, this card is so fucking cool. Like, so cool. So I really, really hope they do something close to this, or they make something like, I don't know, like it. Now, I hope they don't do your deck size is 20 and you start at 20 life, because that would be a little spooky. But big fan of the card. Anyways, back to Showdown of the Badlands. So Showdown of the Badlands had quick draw, and this is nice because we're playing through this expansion right now. I don't know if I like quick draw as a mechanic. I'm gonna be weird. I thought, like, in my mind, I thought quick draw was like a pretty good mechanic before playing with it, because I was like, oh, it's really in flavor with the expansion. But like, playing with it doesn't feel nearly as good as it does compared to the other people. Now, or the other keywords. Now, they have done some really good cards with quick draw, which we'll get to later. Like, I think a really good example of this, someone mentioned in chat, but I was going to talk about it when we got here, is this card. Like, I think this is a really good design for it, because it fits so in flavor, right? You quick draw the bitch, you have a firearm, like, and you keep going. Like, I think I love the idea. Like, the concept is so cool. Like, I'm there for it. Like, every single time I play, I'm like, oh shit, like, here we go again, right? But just in general, like the cards themselves, I haven't really seen a lot of people be playing quick draw, and that kind of sucks. But they really made up for it. All right, I don't know about you guys. Excavating has ended up being my favorite thing this entire year. I fucking love digging. I don't know what it is, dude, but my God, it is so fun to excavate. I think this mechanic is so blessed, and it's so fun. Like, I every time someone excavates, I'm like, this is the dream, right? Because it feels good to play against. It feels good to lose to. Sometimes, right? Sometimes RNG just kind of fucks you. But my God, when you excavate with the Kobold, or when you have the rogue weapon as the 1-mana 1/3 weapon, and you're just smacking, oh my God, it's goated. All of the legendary treasures for excavating feel pretty great. I know the rogue one is like whatever, but God, I've actually been playing a lot of the rogue deck off stream, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. Like, it's a good time. It's a good time. So I'm a huge fan of it. I think this is a really great mechanic, and it's so in flavor with the expansion that they did that I'm an absolute huge fan. Now, what the fuck is a sketchy town folk? Trying to digging deeper. Townsfolk has an extra X8 synergy. Oh, I see. Okay, so that's just like it just adds to it. It's kind of funny that they put that there, and then they have the heroic outlaws. But yeah, I also think the trailer is pretty good, right? I didn't like it at the start. I thought it was whatever, but as I watched it more and more, I'm like, damn. We have to point out, by the way, the best thing about this expansion by a fucking mile, and I'll show you guys it right here. Bro, whoever decided to put the mustache on the bandana deserves 5 raises, incrementing his income by millions. All right, millions, because this is the type of design where I play Hearthstone for, bro. This is it. This shit is so awesome. I love this so much. I love it. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's such a good flavor hit for what Reno is as a character. Now let's talk about some of the cards here, because I think Showdown's been pretty good for overall. It's tough because we're in Showdowns right now, so I haven't really had the time to process how good Showdowns was, because we haven't moved past the expansion. But you go through these cards, and after the buff they did recently, I think the situation or the metagame is pretty good for what the game is. Now, that being said, this is my most hated card of the year. Most hated card of the year. If I had to put public enemy number 1, in my opinion, this fucking card. I think it should be illegal for you to die from 30 health to a Demon Hunter on turn 6. I don't know about you guys. I think that's a little fucked up. Like, it's happened to me more than once, which is very concerning. I think this card, they should move it over somewhere else. Now I feel like it's not as bad because you just don't see it as often, but my God, I think it's fine. Sif is worse. I'm going to tell you why Sif is not. Can we get, well, let's have a little discussion here because you brought that up. Here's the thing about Sif, and this is how I truly believe combo decks should be. Combo decks should be something that you build towards that the enemy can keep track of so they understand when the combo is. You understand what I mean? Like, it takes time. Like, it's not like turn 7 Sif is ready to go and you're getting ass blasted, maybe in like very niche circumstances. But the concept of building towards a combo is, in my mind, what a combo deck should be, right? It shouldn't be. Oh, it's 3 mana. I was just thinking on turn 6. It shouldn't be, I drew this card and now you lost. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. I think it's very safe to say you don't like Sif because when you lose to Sif, like, when does losing feel good? Ever? But you can't tell me that Sharpshooter and Sif are on the same level. Like, I'm just gonna put it out there. Like, I feel like this card, just purely from a design standpoint, I think it's fucking miserable. But everything else in this expansion, damn son, pretty fucking good. Let's be real. The best fucking voice line of all of them. Keep on panning. I hope to God when this card is played, chat, you say it with you or with the panner, because it's music to my ears. It's my favorite thing to listen to. I fucking love it. Keep on panning. It's in my mind forever. I'm gonna remember that till the day I die. My doctor's gonna be like, yo, you got 5 minutes left to live. Do you want to see your family? What are you gonna say? What's your last words? And it's gonna just be like, keep on paying. Like, you know what I mean? There's one other card I wanted to talk about that I think is like kind of like a little bit of cringe, but I think looking back at this expansion, I think they did a pretty good job. It's a good expansion, man. I think like the Warlock, I mean, this card I think it probably deserves to be spoken about because I can't believe they released it in the state I remember, bro, you guys were there when I reviewed the Warlock cards. We saw this and I'm like, this is broken. And I think a lot of people realized it was broken. This was a stupid one. Like this shouldn't have gone past balancing. There's a couple of cards in this expansion that I think they can buff even more. But like this card, I think this card can like I was shitting on this card when it was like the pre-release card, but I thought it was mainly boring. Keep on painting, but you keep forgetting. What did he say? He's right. Cards like Sharpshooter are degen and bad for the game. Amen. I could be a designer for this game. Also, this card's ridiculous. They need to change this card. It's tough giving like a full review of Showdown in the Badlands because it's just been some time, but I think for the expansion, like this is probably the most fun I've had in Hearthstone for the hot minute. And I think that's mainly just because of excavating. Highlander's fun to play against. Nothing. This is what I wanted to talk about. This is my other favorite card of the year. I think this card's fucking awesome, dude. There is something so goddamn satisfying about summoning these ogre boys over and over and over again. It's something that, again, the dopamine hits make me want to keep playing Hearthstone. And it's kind of interesting that it's not a great card, but it's playable. And I think that's a great way of having this design. You guys can talk about Reno all you want. I think Reno's fine for the game. I don't think it's been a nuisance. I think Reno's been okay. I don't know why he's like this on the screen though. Isn't that weird? Imagine being brand new to Hearthstone. You're going through the library like, oh, what is this? You have no idea. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, I think Showdown in the Badlands is a pretty good expansion. I think I think a lot of people are enjoying it. Of course, there's some things that everyone's going to hate losing to, but I think they've done a pretty great job. I think the problem with this expansion right now is this card. Like, this is a card that I think just, like, I don't know why they made this card. And this is the older version. Like, this card was a problem. So basically, like, it's funny how every single year, it's funny that every single year is the same problem. Mana cheating at a high level is just, it shouldn't be in the game. It shouldn't be in the game. I wonder how good this expansion would be without this, because without this card fucking railing you 2 million times a day, you have excavating, you have Highlander, you have aggro decks, you have everything. Like, this could be so good. Could be so good. Anyways, I think overall, like Showdown of the Badlands probably needs a little bit more time, but I think overall it's a pretty good year of Hearthstone. And I think it's very hard to like look at this year and be like, this year sucked. And this is like my note here, chat. This is my note. I think a lot of people will tell me that Hearthstone's gotten worse. Like the game is dying, whatever. But like these past 2 years in terms of Hearthstone have been very good. Been very good. This year sucked. This year, Keck W. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? And you could go back and like, it's funny. Like people will remember like how fun Goblins and Gnomes was. I'm like, yeah, it was a good time in expansion. It was a good time when this expansion came out. But I mean, if you haven't played Hearthstone in a while, like this is a good time to be a Hearthstone player. Like they haven't lost any of their animations, the feeling it provides. It's great. It's great. It's a good year of Hearthstone. Do you think it was better than the previous one? They're both bad in their own way. Let's put it like that. I think the only real thing about this card is that it stopped at 1, right? The other one you can go below. Okay. All right, that was my year, chat. Hope you guys liked that. That was fun. We have another. This is what I really wanted to get to, but I figured I would talk about this because it's something that I feel like it'd be a good time to do because I didn't want to do like a super long stream today. David, you guys remember David? David's going on vacation soon. You guys know David. David. What the fuck? What you added a disclaimer this time? All right, David. I feel you. Okay, we're gonna have to get a. We're gonna have to get an audio test real fast. So let me just pull up a random YouTube video. Okay, I'll just watch this raffle clip. What the hell? Where's the audio? Oh, my headset's off. I was like, what? What's bad about 2020 and 2021? Didn't play those years? Unite and Stormwind.
Millhouse on 2, no balls.
Hey, Chad, is that loud enough or no?
What are you talking about? Why would I play Millhouse on 2?
Can you guys hear Raffle in the background? A little louder. Well, we can adjust it after. I just want to. Okay. Too quiet. Camera bottom right, but move it for the last 5 minutes. You'll know why. Wait, David, is that you? That must be you, right? I just realized who it is. Camera bottom right, but move for the last minute. Okay. I got to make this very clear. I'm just gonna hide Twitch chat here. We'll just talk about this. We'll talk about this. Okay. I gotta say some stuff here. Twitch chat. Okay. This might be really loud. Let's just test this for science though.
I think Mukla Tyrant of the Veil will fit into a lot of mid-range decks. It might even fit into a lot of Zoo decks. And it obviously work a little bit better in some of the spells.
Tell me. Okay, good. Okay. All right, let's talk about this real fast. Okay. God, I love doing this YouTube intros. David, how's the Dark and Darker video coming, buddy? I'm so excited to see it. Okay. We did it last time. We did a video called The Worst Ratings in Hearthstone. But that only covered from the beginning of Hearthstone to basically till Old Gods came out, a little before Old Gods came out. So this is the second year of Hearthstone. This is the year of the Kraken, I think is when Old Gods came out, and there should be a third video, so make sure you subscribe if you like these type of videos. Let me read this disclaimer real fast. All cards are rated on their merit and constructed unless specified otherwise. All cards are rated in regards to the time of their reveal. Some cards get better or worse with future sets. True. Videos are retrospective into people's reaction to card release. It's not meant to dunk on anyone. Yeah, we gotta make that very clear, because for some reason people thought I was like shitting on people for just reacting to how good they thought it was cards. That's not what this is. It's just fun to look in hindsight people's rating on cards, as you know, before the expansions even came out. And I'm sure you guys could look at some of my reviews over the years and be like, what a dumbass. Like, it's not being like, oh, I am a dumbass. It's just my rating of the card is a dumbass. You know what I mean? In defense of the people in this video, they reviewed every single card of every single expansion, were spot on 99% of the time. This video just documents the 1% of the misses. All right, David, I appreciate the disclaimer, dude. Thank you. All right. Let's see what we got.
I think Mukla Tyrant of the Veil will fit into a lot of mid-range decks. It might even fit into a lot of Zoo decks. And it obviously work a little bit better in some of the spell synergistic, generally mage decks. I think it's overall just a good, solid card.
I think he is a great...
Hey, yo, I'm going to be real here for a quick second, though. I actually can't remember how much Mukla was played. Was he played at all? I think he was tried for sure, but like I only saw that guy in Arena. Right? I think the Mukla card was only good in Arena. So, yeah, okay, he was dog. Okay. So, Crypt thought he was a pretty solid
great
card.
fit in decks like Flamewaker Mage, you know? Like, any deck that just wants more spells in its hand, this is a great tool. You're getting a reasonable body. You're getting 2 spells. Those spells have immediate impact. Like, it's not unplayable. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him a lot.
So, overall, in my opinion, I think it's a pretty solid mech card. It might see some...
Firebat wasn't in the last video. Hey, dude.
Play, but I don't think it's going to see a lot of play.
There's a card that I'm actually tempted to put in the good category. Now, I originally compared this card with Ancient of Lore, the really good version. 7 mana 5/5, draw 2 cards. And I said, this is 6 mana 5/5, draw 2 bananas. I'm going to put this into the potential category.
This number, community points, is rating given to cards based on an open vote held Hearthstone at the time. Basically, public consensus on the card pre-release 0 to 100, the higher the better. Okay, I feel okay. I feel like this card, I feel like most of them are pretty spot on. Okay, hold on.
You know, I'm a little surprised it never took off. Just a tiny bit surprised.
See, like I'm with Trump on that one. Like when Old Gods came out, a 6 mana 5/5 with the idea of like giving yourself 2 bananas was actually not the worst concept in the world. So I feel like for most of us, we definitely thought that like Mukla was going to be playable, but it turned out that there was just way better stuff you could do for 6 mana at the time. Like, why am I playing Mukla when I can play like Cthulhu cards or something?
It turns out...
Also, what was the point of adding 2 bananas to like an aggro deck, right?
Isn't it a good enough card? I tried Mukla, Tyrant of the Veil in a few decks, but yeah, it turned out to be not good enough to really make the 30th deck slot. However, with the Curator around the corner, maybe this is the beast that you want.
Unfortunately,
spoiler, boys, the Curator did not help this card's get played.
You're paying a 6 mana 5/5.
I didn't know this card existed.
If you compare it to like Emperor or Sylvanas or even Cairn, for example, like which text would you rather have? If you compare it that way, it's kind of sucky, right?
It is the biggest.
Amen. Okay, so yeah, I think Amaz was really spot on here. Was people thought this was gonna be playable, but again, like, why would you want to play this when Sylvanas was in the game? Why would you play this when Karen's in the game? There was just the 6 costs. Like, this was not it. It's even funnier too because I've been doing that expansion series recently where we're going through each expansion, like, and slowly adding cards to our decks. And I opened this card. I'm pretty sure I opened this card. And it's funny that now even like that was like 2 months ago and I'm still like forgetting about it because like it was still unplayable at that point in our expansion series with like this low amount of cards. It's crazy.
Text would you rather have? If you compare it that way, it's kind of sucky, right?
It is the biggest common card out there, and it is good that the card is printed because new players are going to have the opportunity to craft a huge card if they feel like it takes a huge card in order to win games. And then they're going to waste their 40 dust, but that's good because it's a learning experience for them.
Faceless Behemoth. Yeah. Moving on to N'Zoth the Corruptor. Is this card good enough for Constructed?
Dude, I miss Raynon so much.
I tend to think that 10 mana cards aren't. I think in Wild, I think Dr. Boom will be too slow. So that kind of gives you an idea of how good I think.
I should mention, by the way, in case you guys forgot, Raynon reminded me right here. This was the first rotation ever. So we never really had an idea of what happens with Hearthstone when a standard rotation happens. Old God was the first time that happened. So a lot of these people were evaluating the cards based on what a rotation could look like.
A 10 mana 5/7 is going to be. So basically, I don't really expect this guy to see any play. I think he is too slow, but very cool. Honestly, the Old Gods are awesome. There's big epic minions. This effect doesn't quite do it for me. I think it's just a little bit too slow.
Any 10 mana card that doesn't
Bro, I can't with that one. That was crazy. Okay.
impact the board immediately is complete garbage.
I take back what I said. I wish I didn't bring up the standard rotation because it makes that review even worse.
Now, this minion, N'Zoth, he kind of is based on what died earlier in the game. He doesn't impact the board really. Like, filling the board with stuff is not really impacting the game. Impacting the game is like gaining life, putting a taunt, killing a minion. You just an immediate.
Hold on, David. Hold on.
This minion, N'Zoth, he kind of is based on what died earlier in the game. He doesn't impact the board really. Like, filling the board with stuff is not really impacting the game. Impacting the game is like gaining life, putting a taunt, killing a minion. You just an immediate effect that basically affects the state of the board in a proactive sense.
So I think right now the card pool is too weak to support what this card does. I think in the future this card will see play. I think this card's going to see play in Wild, but in Standard I think the card pool is a little too weak to support the effect of this card. Maybe more cards will come out even in just this set that'll make this card extremely powerful.
You know, this could have been a spell, and this could have been like fine, but no, it is actually a 5/7 creature. Whether this is playable for other classes remains to be seen because we're losing Shredder. So we're just gonna give this a 9 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10 because it really depends on the other cards that are going to be seen. But man, this already has an archetype. It already is playable in Paladin. Yeah, it did. You get what I mean?
This weapon is
okay. So that's actually, dude. It's actually wow. That's incredible. I can't wait to see what they say for like Cthulhu and Yogg because I don't remember. But N'Zoth was really good. N'Zoth was basically introduced at the start of the year, and he kept on seeing play because it turned out there was a lot of really good death rattles. And in a game like Hearthstone after rotation, the power level got significantly weaker because we lost cards like Dr. Boom, we lost cards like Piloted Shredder. So N'Zoth was like a pretty great card to add to your deck as just a late game inevitability. Was it the strongest old god at the time? I don't think so. I remember Cthulhu. Well, Cthulhu was good because it was a win condition. Yogg was played. Yogg was like the turbo nuts. Yashiraj was kind of played, but he got a lot better during Karazhan. Well, we'll see.
Already is playable in Paladin.
But it's cool that it's interesting that Amaz like was the only one that really thought this was going to be playable.
This weapon is really, really powerful. Some people say that because it's not 4 mana, it's not going to make a big enough impact. It'll make a big enough impact.
Arena, buddy.
The second hit is synchronized with a high attack minion spawning. That is like an immense tempo swing. It's immense.
And oh my god, the value of this card is like off the charts, right? And for the fact that like it's a 5 mana weapon that doesn't overload means that Fire Elemental can actually come down on turn 6. All right, we're gonna give this a very high rating and constructed.
I think the
God, dude, Amaz was cooking, guys. He was cooking until that moment.
Card will see play just by merit that it's a weapon, and weapons are good, but I don't think it's going to be a card that people are going to be super thrilled about.
This card.
Okay, I legitimately can't remember, and this probably speaks to how powerful this card was, but this card didn't see play, right? This card was awful. Maybe in Arena it was good. Like, maybe that's what Crip was like. Well, we had the disclaimer at the start, so like, this card was bad, right? I can't remember it being played, so it has to be bad. Okay.
Are good, but I don't think it's.
I think Firebat's take was like pretty good though for what it was.
This card holds tremendous value in it. For 1 mana, more than Deathbite. It's a lot of value packed into one card, and I think it's quite good. Kind of a surprise that Hammer of Twilight is one of the fewest cards I ended up seeing around. That it was tough to fit in all of the good cards into the deck, and also Doomhammer existed.
Hammer of Twilight, I don't think it's see play at all. Not only does it compete with Doomhammer, but the 4/2 minion that you get is just not that strong. It's too easy to trade into. It's just not that good.
Raydat is back. All right, Raydat is so back after that one. It's crazy how like one of them is always like against the rest of them, and they ended up being right.
That Trump got to release that was given to Blizzard, and he kind of looked at it in a fairly optimistic light. In like 60 to 70% of the time, you have a positive or neutral effect from the battle cry. Yes, you can draw like 3 cards of Nourish, but you could also Soulfire itself, basically paying 5 mana and removing 2 cards from your hand, and that's it.
It's sad to see the card that I previewed rated this low. It's time to reveal my card, and boy have I been given a doozy of one. Servant of Yogg-Saron. I kind of hyped it up using best case scenarios, but it turns out when I went back for a second check, there were too many disastrous outcomes. It's bad.
Overall, it's probably not good enough, but if it is good enough, I'm very upset with Blizzard.
And we have Tentacles for Arms. This is a warrior weapon.
Oh my god. Okay, this card sucked. I think it was like tried for a little bit because like people tried to do like a mid-range variant with this card in it, but yeah, people realized pretty quickly that on average this card was atrocious. Now I will say, even though this wasn't for Arena, I think this card was fine in Arena, right? Arena people can let me know. But yeah,
is good enough. I'm very upset with Blizzard.
And we have Tentacles for Arms. This is a warrior weapon, if you were curious, but you're probably not that curious because the card is abysmal.
In control matchups, if you can get 6 wings of Tentacles for Arms off and pay the 15 mana for it, and then get the Tentacles for Arms back in your hand, I think it's worth it if you can do that.
A lot of things you can do to trigger this.
Oh my god. When he said you can get 6 damage for 15 mana over 6 turns, I think my brain just like melted. This card sucked. But I will say, it's funny, like, I remember back in the day, people thought this was actually going to be like a good card because people just thought that this was going to slide into Control Warrior and just be like, oh, you have infinite value with your weapons. Of course this will be good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It was a different time, to be fair. Like, value was important, but yeah.
Get the Tentacles for Arms back in your hand. I think it's worth it if you can do that.
A lot of things you can do to trigger this guy. Whether it's good enough just by itself, just because it's like a lot of stats, probably is. I don't know if it'll be like broken enough for constructed, but maybe in the wild format even. I don't think it'll like break the game or anything, but it is a pretty solid arena card, I think.
I mean, I don't want to write this card off right away, but I think this is just too weak. I don't know. It can be good. It's just like off the top, it's weak. I don't know. I don't think it's quite good enough to make the cut right now.
3 mana 1/5 is not what we're really looking for in terms of creatures. I don't want a conditional thing that gets better, and if I don't meet the requirements, it doesn't. So we're gonna give Darkshire Councilman 2. Yeah, not too exciting actually.
I'm very surprised to see Darkshire Councilman at this high a ranking. First of all, base stats are very poor. If you were to summon 2 cards with it on the same turn, then you're getting a 3 mana 3/5. If you do that with Questing Adventurer, you're getting a 3 mana 4/4. And Questing Adventurer saw absolutely no play whatsoever. And that actually hit with spells too. Anywho, this card takes a bit too long to get set up. Very similar to Questing Adventurer. You know, when I made this review, I didn't actually understand.
Okay, before I even hear what Trump had to say here, okay? I think at the time when people reviewed this card, they didn't realize that 5 health was pretty annoying to deal with on turn 3. That was the biggest thing because this was played in like Zoo Warlock. So you drop Flame Imp, you drop your Voidwalker or whatever, and then you play this. Yeah, it's a 3 mana 1/5 for 1 turn, but the second that card lived for 1 turn, it was absolutely disgusting. It was one of the best cards for Zoo Warlock. And it saw pretty consistent play. It was a good card. I can't speak for Arena, but I remember seeing this card a lot during Constructed.
Understand the term summon, but even if I did understand the term summon, I probably still would have called it then. It turns out I learned something really important. 3 mana 5 health is really, really good. That combined with the Imp Gang boss and the Possessed Villager kind of pushed Dark Councilman into a really good card.
So Warlock is a class that does have the ability to spawn a bunch of stuff thanks to just drawing a bunch of cards with his hero power or things like Forbidden Ritual. So I'd not be surprised to see this show up in a board flood style Warlock deck as a powerful individual threat.
I mean, if you have 10 mana, you can play this and heal for 20, and that's not too bad. But in every other situation...
Okay, hold on. Before... I just gotta... Just because... David, it might be worth actually adding the card on screen. But for people who don't know what this card is, it's 0 mana Forbidden Healing. It said, spend the rest of your mana... heal that amount... Heal double that amount to a character. I don't know if it said friendly, but that's what it did. So, like, basically what you could do is... on 10 mana, you could spend all of your mana and heal your hero for 20 life if you wanted to. That's an example of it.
20, and that's not too bad, but in every other situation, it's kind of bad. Kind of really bad. So I really don't think it's that great.
Forbidden Healing is the kind of card that just ends the game against Face Hunter on its own. This is a powerful card. All the Forbidden cards are much better than they look, I think. It's a card I would play at least 1 of in Control Paladin, maybe 2. Maybe it's that good. I don't know.
Next up, we have Cho'Gall.
Okay, again, this is a card that really like blanks on my memory. I think Raynad was right though. I feel like Control Paladin, when it was played like one copy of it. And Control Paladin was like good because Control Paladin had Tyrion into a N'Zoth. I don't know if you ran 2. I think it really depended on what the metagame was, but I remember like I think it was played with 1. It was definitely 1. It was okay. Like it wasn't the best card in the world, but Paladin had enough of a reason to actually run it.
One of in Control Paladin, maybe 2. Maybe it's that good. I don't know.
Next up, we have Cho'Gall.
That's a difficult one, though.
I think is going to be the next Dr. Boom. I think this card is crazy strong. Maybe I'm overestimating it a little bit, but to me, this reads play a 7/7 and kill one of your opponent's minions for just the cost of a little bit of life. I'm excited to see this card see play. I think it's going to be a really, really, really strong card in some sort of like mid-range tempo-y zoo sort of warlock decks. I think it's going to be really strong. It's definitely on my top 5 strongest cards of the expansion so far list.
Cho'Gall is a card that seems great until you look at all the spells of a warlock. Spell list isn't that impressive. I'm almost tempted to shake the boat by calling Cho'Gall a bad card, but I'm just going to put it into the potential list.
No, Tro.
Now this is what I was talking.
Okay. Wow, that's hearing Firebat's analysis on that was kind of crazy. For the record, by the way, Firebat was the first world champion winner of Hearthstone of all time. And it's cool like hearing his reviews in hindsight. This card was not Dr. 7. The problem with Cho'Gall ended up being a couple things. 1, this was not a neutral card. This was for Warlock only. 2, playing a 7-mana 7/7 was not good. We already had War Golem. So the thought process was that you could use this card to remove your opponent's minion. But you could also just not play this shitty 7/7, remove your opponent's minion, and do something better, which was what ended happening with Cho'Gall. Cho'Gall ended up only seeing play, as far as I can remember, in like a Highlander Warlock deck. I don't remember it being ever played in a 2-of Warlock deck. Because in Highlander, like you have to you have to put individual cards to make this card a little bit like you have to play good individual cards to make Reno playable. But this card like ended up being like pretty bad. It was probably like the 30th card if even putting it into your deck.
Cards of the expansions.
It wasn't even ran in Highlander. Actually, yeah, in hindsight, like maybe it wasn't. This card sucked. And I can understand again why Firebat thought this was gonna be good. I honestly I can understand it from like that perspective, but it's crazy to think about like this is mana cheating. This is one of the best mana cheating cards in a sense at the time, and it just was bad.
So far list.
Cho'Gall is a card that seems great until you look at both.
That's crazy.
Calling Cho'Gall a bad card, but I'm just gonna put it into the potential list.
Now this is what I was talking about when I was mentioning some really crappy cards. Doom is a really crappy card.
Big dumb guy.
Holy fuck. Okay, sorry. I almost spat in my coffee there. Crip's delivery there was so good. Okay.
Crappy cards. Doom is a really crappy card.
Big dumb guy.
How'd you feel about Cho'Gall if he was a neutral card? The problem with Cho'Gall as a neutral card is he wouldn't fit in flavor. Like it'd have to be a Warlock card.
It's a really crappy card.
Big dumb guy.
Right.
Needless to say, this card will see play everywhere. I wonder if someday we'll see an even better card.
Duskboar, 2-mana 4/1 beast. Then we have Silithid Swarmer, 3-mana 3/5, can only attack if your hero attack this turn. This is a very powerful rogue card because you can hero power on turn 2. Then a 3-mana 3/5 is ridiculous on a follow-up. Yeah, that's it. Good rogue card, kind of pointless otherwise.
Moving on to Silithid Swarmer, it's actually a very cool card. I like this a lot. A lot of people point to Rogue when they think about this card. And honestly, Rogue does need a 3-drop. Like, you're just playing like a naked SI agent on the board, and that always feels terrible because you want to get value out of all your cards. But Silithid Swarmer has insane stats. This is great. 3-mana 3/5 with your dagger that's going to be 4 damage. It's like a 3-mana Yeti. I actually think Silithid Swarmer might see a lot of play in that deck, but even outside of Rogue, the Face Warrior deck, good old Raynad special. This guy would definitely see play in a deck like that as well.
I think if this card were in Rogue, the card would have been rated higher. Though, to be fair, for the most part, this probably will not see play in Rogue.
Dude, I'm baffled by this.
Now, if you look at that card...
Okay, that's crazy to hear in hindsight. I understand the perspective, though. Again, you got to remember, first rotation... 3-mana 3/5 is actually a really juicy stat line. The average for a 3-drop at the time was a 3/3. We didn't even like Spider Tank being a 3/4 was like holy shit. So a 3/5, man, you're popping off there. But again, kind of like the issue with Inspire is you have to spend the 2 mana beforehand. So this is almost like, with Rogue at least, so it's almost like a 5 mana 3/5 and you get the 1/2 dagger, which a lot of you guys could probably guess this card did not see any play, but it's interesting. Like, I can understand why they would say that though. Yo, Bat, thanks for 5, bro. No card will be as bad as German sausages. They're the worst. Okay, Bath. Maybe I think what the hell?
To be fair, for the most part, this probably will not see play in Rogue either.
Now, if you look at that card, you would realize it kind of sucks a lot. The stats are very poor for the mana. At 9 mana, you need a high impact card. It does impact the board. Okay? It's not completely useless, but will it do enough? I would argue probably not. Saga the Slitherer is indeed a very interesting and very played card, in fact. So we thought, it'll be a slow meta. I think in ladder right now, we are 85 to 90% aggro or tempo or combo deck. And Sagoth just happens to be pretty good against aggressive and mid-range decks.
Cthulhu dudes plus board.
What? Wait. What video was this from? What? What video was that from? Okay, anyways. So we got the Slither. I'm pretty sure he was bad. Like a week after the release of the expansion. Okay, Crip had to be trolling, right? This card sucked. Like, it's crazy to think how much the Hearthstone team valued can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. And to be fair, as far as I'm concerned, in Magic the Gathering, that's a pretty good text to have, right? So I can understand that. 9 mana 5/9 though. My God, trash stats. And even if it had taunt, it just wasn't enough, because by the time you play this card, it reminds me of Trogzor from the GVG era, because people thought GVG was like insane. Trogzor was going to be insane because if you played this and your opponent only had spells to react to, the card was nuts. This is almost the same concept, but like you have to remember that there's minions always on board. So this card ended up being bad. Maybe in Arena, it was probably okay. I can't remember if it was played in Arena. Again, I wasn't playing Arena at the time. But in Constructed, there was so much better things you could do than this card.
But will it do enough? I would argue probably not. Saga the Slither, in fact, 5 to 90% aggressive and mid-range decks.
Armor card. Dudes plus...
just happens to be pretty good against aggressive and mid-range decks.
Cthulhu dudes plus... board control dudes are a good combination, and armor cards plus removal is a good combination, but this card is like armor plus Cthulhu dudes. It's not a good fit, really. I think it's just too awkward.
Very similar to Twilight Darkmender, I'm going to take a leap here,
weird.
and I'm going to call the Ancient Shieldbearer bad. That is because I cannot really imagine a Cthulhu deck in Warrior. Oh, should I make this boldly call? That's dangerous. Should I move it up to has potential just because I'm scared? I'm gonna just go ahead and boldly call this card bad also.
10 armor is so much. 10 armor is so much. Plus, it's not a bad body by itself, right? So Super Shield Maiden, well, there you go.
Basically, draw this guy.
Okay, that is wild, dude. That card was so good. It was so... Amaz is on point here. The thing about Cthulhu, well, okay, so I feel like what happened was people thought that Cthulhu Warrior wasn't going to be as good for Warrior. Dropsuck, sorry, let me start again. Dropsuck, thanks for the Prime sub, bro. Appreciate it a ton. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think a lot, I can't remember at the time, David, you may have to correct me because you've seen a lot more of this, but I think a lot of people at the time didn't think Cthulhu was going to be that good for Warrior. So when you look at this card, you're like, why am I playing this in Warrior? What's the point? But Cthulhu ended up being really good for Warrior. Like, it was, I think, the best deck for Warrior at the time, because not only was it a good mid-range deck, but it also had the late game finisher of Cthulhu, and Warrior was the only class in the game to really gain an absurd amount of armor. So it kind of covered all bases. I mean, knowing that Cthulhu was really, really good for Warrior, this card was nuts, because Amaz is 100% correct. 10 armor back in the day of Hearthstone was a significant amount, and honestly kind of blows my mind in hindsight that like 10 armor in 2023 Hearthstone was like not as nearly as insane as it was. But also you're getting a 7 mana 6/6, and it's not a requirement that is really bad for Warrior, because even if you're paying a 7 mana 6/6, getting 10 armor with something like Shield Slam is just pretty good. And it ended up being a pretty good like combo, just like a tiny combo in your Cthulhu deck. But yeah, this card was really good. This card, if you're playing Cthulhu Warrior, you're playing this card in every single time.
Well,
this is an auto include. One of the reasons why the deck was
Basically, draw this guy, and you wait until you get a very good card, and then you play the card, and then you're pretty happy. I do expect this card will see a lot of play.
Oh my god, this is good. Why is this so good? You understand? People don't understand why this is so good. Because you can always just keep it in your hand, and if you don't want to play that, then don't play it, right? Just wait till another turn. But I cannot see how every single control deck is not going to play this.
Shifter Xeris. I think this card is good. Now, granted, I think this card is only good in heavy control decks, which try to go really late game. I like the card, and I'm calling it good.
A little bit too slow to be good, but a very cool design. I love legendaries like this. Very funny. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty terrible card, and I'm trying to be pretty open-minded with new cards, but I'm pretty sure it's really bad.
And we have...
Dude, that is wild, man. Why? Okay, so Rarran's analysis was like pretty much what this is. Really bad card. It turned out just keeping a card in your hand that does nothing and just does nothing every single turn is bad. You'd rather have a card that you can play and actually interact with the board state. Yeah, for sure. Some cases it will be really good and you'll get the perfect minion for that specific situation. But on average, this card sucked ass. And I think Rarran's analysis was actually really spot on here. Really cool design for a legendary, especially at the time in 2016 Hearthstone. This was kind of revolutionary. We never really had a card like this. But yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. I kind of wish they would put this in just the core set for Hearthstone, because it is a fun card. It's a card to just like meme around with, right? Yo, Igel1, thank you for the Prime sub as well.
Card, and I'm trying to be pretty open-minded with new cards, but I'm pretty sure it's really bad.
And we have probably the most broken arena card I've ever seen. In Constructed, it'll probably see some play just because the stats are so nuts.
It's going to be really difficult to deal with a 7/7 on turn 4.
Pretty underrated, honestly. More people should be talking about this guy.
I've seen a lot of people...
Whoa, that was fast. Okay. Flame Wreath Faceless. This is a really interesting one because the 4 mana 7/7 meme was birthed from this card. This was the birthing, I was going to call it, of the card like this. This card in Arena, I believe, slapped ass. This card in Standard, as far as I remember, was like good, but I think people started to realize like it wasn't like the greatest thing in the world. But I think this card was really good because of Tunnel Trog, if I remember correctly. Wasn't it because of Tunnel Trog? Like, I feel like this card was good because of Tunnel Trog, not because like in a vacuum it's fine, but I feel like where it really came down to was like you play Tunnel Trog, you followed up with something else, and then you drop a 4 mana 7/7, and then people are like, holy shit, like how do I deal with this and the Tunnel Trog? But I remember, like, maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe I'm losing my mind here, but I feel like this card got cut pretty quickly after. Like, I can't remember though. Was it played in other decks? Does anyone remember? I feel like it was cut. In hindsight, Old Gods went off the rails compared to the previous expansion. Xeris 4 mana 7/7. Yogg just hit the fan. Yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy time. You're saying a 4 mana 7/7 isn't good enough? Shama's dog shit at the expansion. Don't play Shaman pretty much. I don't think that's true. I feel like people definitely played it. There's this weird suspicion of this card that like I remember it being like really popular at the start, but then it kind of died off. I don't remember. I can't wait until they go over Black Isle Gunspire, the single best card ever printed. What expansion is that from? I feel like that's way later, right? I don't know. I feel like the card was played. Like it definitely wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't like the most hyped card of all time, right? It was very hyped, but it didn't end up being like the best card ever in the Shaman deck. I feel like Tunnel Trog was absolutely like the reason why you're playing the Shaman deck. Not to say this card didn't see play. Like it definitely saw play. What the hell?
More people should be talking about this guy.
I've seen a lot of people dismissing this card. You know,
but I don't remember it being as hyped.
More people should be talking about this guy.
I've seen a lot of people dismissing this card. You know, doesn't necessarily have great stats for 6.
if this survives, you just get your win condition from your deck into your hand. I think this card is being slept on by a lot of people, and if you are playing a deck that is looking to end the game with one of these big 10 cost Old Gods, this is a card that I feel like you're almost certainly going to want to have in a lot of those versions of those decks.
I'm very tempted to call N'Zoth first.
Okay, to be fair, I understand where Killer is coming from, and especially at the time when they introduced all of the Old Gods, because all the Old Gods cost 10 mana. So like you play this card, you draw your win condition, bada bing, bada boom, you're big chillin', right? But it sucked ass, because the thing is, it's like the problem with the new updated version of Nat Pagel, where it's like it's at the start of your turn, and having something at the start of your turn is so much worse than having it at the end of your turn, because it has to live. And I don't know about you guys, I'm not playing a 6 mana 4/6 potentially draw me a 10 cost card.
You want to have in a lot of...
Didn't the 4 mana 7/7 card get Ben Brode fired? Was that the meme? I think that's a meme. I don't think he got fired because of 4 mana 7/7.
Those versions of those decks.
I'm very tempted to call N'Zoth's First Mate a good card, but N'Zoth's First Mate is one of the best cards you can play on turn 1. Get a lot of value for that. Just tough for the warrior to back that up. An interesting card. I think it has a lot of potential.
So in a sense, this is 1 mana 1/1, summon a 1/1 charge minion. I am gonna give this a 5.
What the fuck? Yo, what? Yo, what? Yo, he knew. That's crazy. Okay, sorry.
10 in constructed.
You generally want a bigger weapon than that because most of the pirates scale off of a bigger weapon better than a small weapon. In terms of constructed, I kind of have some doubts, but it is one of those like super aggressive cards. With enough of them, it might actually be pretty damn good.
Honestly, 1 mana cards are just broken. I overvalue them if anything, but I think it's hard to overvalue them. When they do something, and this card does a lot, they're just so strong, man. You can't justify spending 2 mana to hero power down a card that they committed 1 mana to playing, and they still are left with a weapon. Like, I think this card's really, really strong. It will see play somewhere, and I don't know why people are not like talking about this more. 1 mana cards are nuts.
Now you might look at it and be like,
oh, they got the Boogie Monster. I can't wait to hear that. Okay. N'Zoth's First Mate. N'Zoth's First Mate when it first got released, I don't know if it was like insane, but this card truly became an absolute like S tier card when Mean Streets of Gadsden came out. And it's funny because that's why I was like popping off with a Maz, because it's almost like a Maz knew that if you had Patch as the pirate in the game, like it'd be like the best card of the game. And this card also became really strong because what is that card called? Young Buccaneer. It's from Mean Streets. It's that the 1-drop that gains +2 attack if you have a weapon. So, and it's a pirate. So you would play that card into N'Zoth's First Mate or the other way around, and it was just an absolute monster to deal with. It was crazy. Like it was insane. So in the Old Gods format, absolutely I can understand why N'Zoth's First Mate wouldn't be like really hyped up, but this card became an absolute menace when Patch as the Pirate came out. I completely understand where they're coming from, though.
Not like talking about this more. 1 mana cards are nuts.
Right now,
now you might look at it and be like, "Wow, 8 mana, 6/7," but when you kill something, you gain +2/+2. That's really cool. No, it's really not. No, it's not really cool at all.
In constructed, we can get a 6/7 for 6 mana. It's called Boulder Fist Ogre, and it's a basic card.
For the love of God, dust him. He's just terrible in so many ways. Moving on. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're absolutely right. This card sucked, dude. This card was so like, oh my God. It blows my mind because we only got a certain amount of legendaries during Old Gods format. I believe they cranked up the amount of legendaries in the future. But I feel like the fact that this was printed after they had a little bit of a history of what was a good card in Hearthstone, like actually blows my mind. Like I don't know what they were thinking. Like oh my God. If Boogie Monster had Rush, do you think it would have seen play during Old Gods? Potentially. Yeah, potentially. Like if it was the only card, it's funnier if you compare it to Gruul. I mean, it's funny when you compare it to literally anything, right? Like this card, it blows my mind that they printed a card like this. It's crazy. It's crazy. You know how like the Magma Rangers, right? Like the Magma Ranger is a card that you look at and go, like that's funny. And You never play it unless you're like really memeing. Like you just know it's a pack filler. This is crazy that they basically made a pack filler legendary during Old Gods. It's
him. He's just
wild.
Terrible in so many ways.
But now we get to see
Moving
Yogg,
on.
dude.
So, yeah, I just have my fingers crossed that this card sees no competitive play, because if this is like if the Yogg-Saron deck is a thing in tournaments, imagine like every third game in competitive play comes down to this coin flip on turn 10. That could get pretty dangerous because it's very volatile. But all in all, very cool card. I know I'm going to lose to it literally every single time it's played against me. I'm just going to hope that that's not very often. As far as constructed viability, probably not going to see too much is my guess. I hope that they would test this kind of card and make sure that it does not see competitive play. If I get really upset at Hearthstone, which usually doesn't take too long, I might fall back on Yogg-Saron and try to, just Yogg some people, ruin their day. Seems like it'd be pretty fun.
Basically complete madness, complete chaos. It's gonna happen. Direct damage spells flying at all your other minions. Probably Yogg-Saron is going to die from his own battle cry. So it's just a complete mess, but it's really cool. Overall, Yogg-Saron is probably not going to see too much play, if any play at all, but maybe. We'll see. The craziness is going to be real, and I do expect out of all the dumb cards that are probably horrible, Yogg-Saron will have the most people trying to make it work.
Not really sure what's going to happen. Who really can predict what this card's really going to do? I guarantee you it's going to see a lot of play, though, so I'm pretty excited to see this card get cast.
Yogg-Saron Hope's End. Now, this card I'm going to say has potential. It certainly looks very random, but there have been spreadsheets and tables of statistics and math done on this card. It has potential. It's certainly a deck that can be made, and I could see being tournament caliber. Hey guys, I just came back from the One Night in Karazhan Hearthstone party held in
Okay, hold on. Holy shit. David, thank you for adding this, by the way. I think this actually really added a lot of context here. Guys, Yogg-Saron. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, Raydan must have been fucking losing his mind. Yogg-Saron ended up being the most played Old God by a fucking mile. And it wasn't just because the card was extremely fun. The card was just good, right? If you had a card in the Yogg-Saron basically said 10 mana 7/5, just fucking don't lose the game at that point. Because it turned out on average, most of the time you played Yogg, it was way more beneficial for you as like an emergency button. And it was very consistent of being like this emergency button. But on top of that, it added this additional element of like, you could even get something more. And Yogg-Saron, okay, maybe that I'm wrong about this. And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this card ended up being the best legendary for Old Gods. And then the card was so good that it basically ruined a tournament. I've done a whole video talking about it. Okay, I've talked about David. You got to show the Monsanto clip for the World Championship at this point, where he somehow just completely turns the table. The card was insane. Blizzard nerfed it, and I think it was a very good nerf. By if Yogg-Saron casts a spell that ended up removing him from the board, it would stop casting spells, which I thought was a pretty good idea, because the main use case for Yogg was, here's an emergency button, worst case scenario, it just empties the board. But then it added this little like inconsistency of like, if it killed itself, then you don't have that effect anymore. So it became so much worse. But it was still really fun. I think a lot of people in hindsight will think, okay, you could probably make the claim, I could be wrong about this. I'd be really curious to see what people actually say in the comments. Like, is Yogg-Saron the most iconic Hearthstone card from this time period? Like, there's Reno, right? There's Leroy. There's a bunch of cards. But I feel like most people know Yogg-Saron more than any other card in Hearthstone, right? This card was just, this is, in some people's mind, like the pinnacle of Hearthstone, right? People love this card, man. Is it good for competitive Hearthstone? No. And we have literally a whole tournament and a video made from Disguised Toast talking about it, or showing why this card is so fucked up. But after the nerf, I feel like it's pretty fun. Like, I think that they did a really good job here. This is a good card. This is a fun card to play with. What do you mean from that period from basic to Old Gods? I mean, like, if I think of older Hearthstone, right? My older Hearthstone probably stops around, I would say maybe like Kobolds and Catacombs, like the Ben Brode era, right? Because Ben Brode left the Witchwood, which is the expansion after. I feel like if you take Classic all the way up to Witchwood, well, before Witchwood, Yogg-Saron is like the most iconic card from that time period, right? It's crazy. Either him, Rag, or Reno. Yeah, I think Rag would also be up there. It'd be cool. Dr. Boom's definitely a consideration too. Anyways, I don't know. It's interesting. The card was bonkers. Like, that's basically what we're coming down to.
This
card was really good.
It has potential. It's certainly a deck that can be made, and I could see being tournament caliber. Hey guys, I just came back from the One Night in Karazhan Hearthstone party held in Los Angeles.
Now, mage spells are pretty good, but some of them are not so great. If you have a lot of spell synergies, like most of the tempo mage decks do, I think you're going to be generally quite happy with the results of this card. I think, you know, we might see some constructed play out of the card. I doubt it, but I think it's possible.
I think this card is deceptively good. Not quite good enough for me to call it good yet. I'm not sure if it fits into tempo mage more, if it fits into a control mage. In arena, this card's going to be good.
Babbling Book is a 1-mana 1/1, a little bit too random for Tempo Mage's taste, and 1-mana 1 is definitely not as strong as Mana Worm, right? Like, we don't really want to play too much 1-mana drops.
If you're versing a lot of aggro, which you tend to do in Hearthstone, it's going to be pretty bad a lot of the times. And even against control, 50% of the time, the random spell is not great. So I don't think this card's playable. I don't think it's going to see any play in Mage. I think it's pretty low-tier quality card.
So this is a card a lot of people have been, they haven't really been fans of it. They've been talking it down like, oh, you get a crappy spell most of the time, and it's only a 1-mana 1/1. But just like with N'Zoth's first mate, like when that card came out, everyone was like shit talking that card too. And I said, like, any 1-mana card that has a reasonable effect is super good. Like, at some point it will become nuts. 1 mana is just so fundamentally OP. Most people, when they do set reviews, they give you all this ambiguous language like, oh, this could be good in these situations, and this, but it's a little weak in this regard. And it's like, it's all these like non-committal statements, you know, and it really makes it easy to never be wrong, even if you're never actually right in your set reviews. Babbling Book is damn good. It replaces itself. You get a 1-mana 1/1. I think it's just a good card. I think this is grossly underrated, actually.
So you're probably thinking,
okay, wow, that's well, look at this shirt, holy moly. Okay, I mean, if you watched the World Championship with Pavel, you understood what this card could do. And even before that, this card was actually just good because the average spell you got was beneficial for you. As a 1-mana 1/1, it had the potential to give you like a third fireball. It had the potential to give you another frostbolt. Like it was just a good card. Like, and Tempo Mage was a real deck back then because you had cards like Mana Worm, and Mana Worm was a really good card. So you could play Babbling Book. It was an additional 1-drop. It was strictly just a good card to put in your Tempo Mage. And it was also good in Highlander. And it saw play in actually a variety of different decks. Yo, what's up, Stevie? Babbling Book represented everything wrong with Hearthstone and One Night in Karazhan. Buddy, this was not even close to the problem of One Night in Karazhan, which I hope we get to later, because this, by the way, in case anyone is curious, this is one of my least favorite time periods in Hearthstone, and I'm praying to God we see why. But this card was like, I think this card was pretty inoffensive. But yeah, it obviously ended up being like a pretty good card. And if it wasn't for Babbling Book, let's just say, even though Pavel was a really good player and deserved his win, I don't know if he would have beat Amnesiac from it. And this card was so good that with that polymorph, that it tilted Amnesiac off the fucking cliff.
It's just a good card. I think this is grossly underrated, actually.
Grossly underrated is a good way to put it. I think I've seen this effect before, and you'd be right. There is Arcane Explosion. It is the first time in Hearthstone that there is a power creep over a class card. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's interesting. I like the card, so I'm not going to complain too much. I just wanted to point that out.
You know, the effect's only good really against Zoo, and other than that, it has a really narrow range of matchups where it's actually useful to deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, or even deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. Has a pretty narrow field of matchups, so unless the meta is really predictable, I don't see this card being too great.
It's basically slightly better Arcane Explosion. I feel like with Lightning Storm, this card will not see play. And with Elemental Destruction, too. It's just, you can't run that many small damage AoE cards. It turns out that it's a combination of both.
Okay, before we Trump's re-review here, okay? All right. Maelstrom Portal was really interesting because they're absolutely, Crip is absolutely right. Like, this is just a power creep of Arcane Explosion, which did not see any play as far as I remember throughout the entire history of Hearthstone. Like, there are very niche circumstances where Arcane Explosion was like an actual really, like, real playable card in Standard. So when you look at Maelstrom Portal, it's the same thing, but now you're getting a 1-cost minion. Why would that be good? Well, here's the thing, boys. Shaman had a couple of reasons for you to want to play this. A, their totem summoned a spell power totem at the time. They removed that from the game. Currently, it does not exist, but spell power totem was really good. Also, because of another weapon in this set called Spirit Claws, you had a much bigger reason to run spell damage into your deck, which made this card even better. And also, there was a lot of aggro during this time. So this ended up being
damage AoE cards.
Well, I'll let him finish.
It turns out that it's a combination of both focusing more on spell damage, which makes it a 2 damage to all enemy minions, and summoning 1-cost minion actually being a big deal. That make this card a 5-star card and help define the mid-range meta.
This card's really cool. If you have one spell damage on the board in your Shaman deck, you're getting a 2-mana Consecrate. So your card is broken. And a 1/1 minion, or a 1-drop minion, which is great. Like, I'm excited to play with it. This is way more powerful in Shaman than it would be in any other class, because your hero power, at some point in the game with your control deck, at some point you're going to get spell damage, right? Yep. So as soon as you get spell damage, this card becomes nuts. Priest is not in a good spot, right? Personally, I think some class does have to be the worst all the time, and personally, I would like Priest to be the worst deck in the game all the time, but Priest shouldn't be as bad as it is now, right? Like, even I think Priest should have like a 49% win rate if the other decks are at 50. I don't think Priest should be like 35% win rate or whatever it is right now. I think Priest definitely needs help right now. With that said, instead we have Purify.
This is the savior of Priest printed by Blizzard.
Silences a friendly minion and draws you a card. And it costs 2 mana. And it silences only a friendly minion. And it's common. And it's a priest card.
Imagine the most beautiful flower in the world, and then the pigeon flew by and shit on it. That's basically Purify. Don't play it. 0 stars. Next card.
Brodan famously commented on this card.
I always like making my own minions worse.
And he said it so incredulously. As is, this card doesn't have enough application, and it's a bad card. And in Arena, it's really bad since you can't counter it.
Getting like a random...
Okay. At the time, the card was awful. Okay, this card was so bad. It was so bad. 2 mana to silence your minion and draw a card was like considered one of the worst cards in the game at the time, and rightfully so. That being said, there was actually a time period, I can't remember how much after it was when this card was released, where like it did kind of see play. Maybe it was Angoro. Like, there was a moment in time where Purify was actually not the worst thing in the world anymore. Because there was what was it? It was like that big plant guy, right? Razor Jaw. I don't know his name. You know what the card is. It's from Angoro. He's a big guy. David, if you could put it on screen, because I can't remember his name at the time. That card actually made Purify not a horrible card, because if you're gonna build that deck anyways, Purify's not the worst thing in the world because it replaces itself, and you want to silence your big plant guy anyways. Now. But at the time, bro, I spoke about Boogie Monster earlier, like how they printed that card. It blows my mind that the Hearthstone team at the time was like, yeah, man, this card's gonna be good. Like, let's print it at 2 mana. Maybe they did it. Like, maybe this card for like its entire design was like silence a minion, draw a card, and then last second they're like, hey, it might be too good. Let's make it worse. Crazy, man.
Arena, it's really bad since you can't combo it.
Getting like a random 4-cost minion is worth less than 4 mana. It's probably worth close to 3 mana. So is gaining 4 armor for 2 mana and doing nothing really all that great? It's not that great. So I think it's actually garbage.
So it's like a really bad Shield Maiden from GVG. Pretty bad. I don't think it's going to be too impactful to play a random 4-cost minion on turn 5 at the earliest. So I don't think the armor gain is enough. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Shield Maiden. And I can't see this card seeing any play at all. I think it's a pretty overcosted card for what it's doing. I think you could probably have put this at 4 mana and it would have seen play in like Control Warrior in sort of a Shield Maiden's style of slot.
All right, moving on, we've got Ironforge Portal, and as much as I like Shield Maiden, this card is so much worse. Although there aren't many proactive 5-mana things you can be playing in Warrior, and this might just end up making the cut anyway, they're being really careful with armor cards at this point, and I think it's really smart.
Probably costs just a little too much to be played. Bad card. So I rated that a 1-star card.
Okay, before we get to this, I don't remember how good this card was, which makes me believe that this card was bad. I think at the time there was just better stuff to do, and most of the 4-drops you actually wanted to play had some kind of effect, like a battle cry that you wanted to get. So like 5 mana to gain 4 armor and summon a random 4-drop was like meh. But I could be wrong. I think, okay, it's a weird one because I don't remember this card being bad, but I also don't remember it being good. So David, I'm hoping that like I hope this Trump re-review really helps me out here. But like I think in Arena it was fine. Like in Arena it was a good card for sure, right?
Actually ends up being a 4-star card. Most Control Warriors ran Ironforge Portal, especially ones with Yuck.
Ironforge.
Well, fuck me, bro. God, thank God I'm not in this video. I didn't remember that at all.
Portal, it's like an insane Shield Maiden. Like, imagine Shield Maiden is like a 6-mana 5/5 that gives you 5 armor. This is a 5-mana 4 armor that gives you usually a 4/4. So this cannot be bad. I cannot see how this can be bad. I give this 4 stars.
In Constructed, you...
Wow, okay. I'm gonna be honest, maybe at that point in time, it's weird. Okay, you know what my problem is with this, like this era of Karazhan, is that I've repressed so much of this expansion because it just wasn't very enjoyable, right? If you played during this time, I don't really want to spoil it in case you guys don't remember, but like Shaman was the class, and then you had Barnes, and then you had Shaman. But really what Raynad said, there was no proactive cards for Warrior 5, fair enough.
Cannot be bad. I cannot see how this can be bad. I give this 4 stars.
In Constructed, you can probably make use of this card, but I don't know if it fits in the aggro Shaman.
I'm just gonna hold on. I'm just gonna leave this here for this because I think this is gonna really speak.
Deck, and if it doesn't fit in the aggro Shaman deck, it's probably not that relevant to the game. Probably won't see too much Constructed play, if any, but a nice little arena card there.
I think this is a little bit too fringe, and I don't think it's gonna be worth it. So I think it should be like a 1-star.
So I don't want to discount this card and say that this card's bad. I just don't think it'll see play. I think it's a good standalone card, but doesn't have the tools to really make it work yet.
This card's super exciting. It's a card that I don't think has a place right now, but it's one of those cards that moving forward, as more and more expansions comes out, at some point it gets stupid good, right? It's so powerful. It's one mana for 9 damage. It's just a hell of a card.
This card is insane.
Okay, I'm gonna give Raynad some credit there because he was the only one to really compliment of how good this card is. Dude, this card was fucked. Okay, this card was fucked. All right, this card, games were virtually decided on Spirit Clause 1 into rolling the Spell Power Totem. If you got the Spell Power Totem on turn 2, the game was basically over. Like, that was the game. Like, you could not do anything about it. That's what it was. You just lost the game. Which is mind-blowing because if you even tried to fight back, you have to think about if you develop anything, Spirit Clause just kills it and they're still developing something past it. But even if you somehow developed the board, you probably didn't deal with the Spell Power Totem because they kept killing your minions and then they Maelstrom Portal you. Like, Shaman was fucked. Like, during Karazhan, Shaman was miserable. And this is not even considering Tustar Totemic. You guys remember that card before it was changed? Oh my God. Like, sometimes you play Tustar Totemic into a 3/4 Totem Golem and the game was over too, right? There was so many, like, and that's why I don't remember Ironforge Portal, because all I remember from Karazhan is getting ran over. Was that TGT? It was from TGT, but the card saw so much more play when Aggro Shaman was nuts.
See play. I think it's a good standalone card, but doesn't have the tools to really make it work yet.
This card's super exciting. Moving forward,
once again, Rarran's based.
One mana for 9
Built.
damage. It's just a hell of a card.
This card is insane. The Beast Druid deck is going to be built so that you survive until you can cast Menagerie Warden, at which point you are going to get so much value. Play Stranglethorn Tiger on turn 5, and then you play Menagerie Warden. Wow. So that was clearly a 5-star rating, and
Okay, hold on. Ren, thank you for the sub, dude. Welcome back. I appreciate it. Okay. This one's, I'm assuming you have more for this, David. Oh, maybe you don't. Okay. All right, let's talk about this one. This one's really interesting. Okay, because Druid, remember at this time, Druid's like the only class in the game ever, like basically it's still the exact same thing to be honest, but Druid has ramp. So the thought process was you play a Stranglethorn Tiger, the 5-mana 5/5 stealth beast on turn 5. Okay, then you drop a Menagerie Warden and you get a second copy of it. So for 11 mana, you got 10/10 stealth with beast and you got an extra 5/5. That's the like one of the best case scenarios, but also Druid has a ton of beasts. So now you're thinking that like, oh my God, like this, the potential with this card is so insane, but it's absolutely crazy how little this saw play, because people realize pretty quickly that if you don't have a beast, you're not wanting to play a 6-mana 5/5. Also, yeah, you got ran over before turn 6. Why would you play this when you could just play Shaman?
you play Menagerie Warden. Wow. So that was clearly a 5-star rating, and I think this was the card that I might have thought was one of the strongest cards in the set. Ended up being not really that powerful because the Beast Druid deck didn't see that much play. So Menagerie Warden actually ends up getting a post-reflection 2-star rating. This card's one of the best cards in the set, I think.
Okay, I just want to make this very clear. Very clear. In my opinion, okay? Now, we just talked about Shaman. This is, at the time, in my opinion, other than Implosion, the worst card Hearthstone has ever designed. Okay.
I was to say, there's a lot of potential for this card to pull out something really good.
It's probably the best card in the expansion, in my opinion, because when you get something like a Sylvanas or Karen or even Zera or Rag, like there's so many options.
I can't wait to see
When you build a mid-range or control deck, you're gonna keep that in mind. It's so good, 5 stars.
I hate this card. Yes, it's stupidly good. Yes, it's obviously going to be good with death rattles and static effects, and you're going to play it in your N'Zoth decks. If you put Yasharj in your deck, it doesn't pull it out of your deck. It summons a copy. So if Yasharj is the only other thing in your deck, you play Barnes, you get the 1/1 Yasharj, and then that at the end of your turn makes a 10/10 Yasharj. So then on turn 3 or 4, you're getting a 15/15 of stats or something ridiculous, you know, like, well, most people's feedback is like, yeah, it's good with these cards and these effects and in these scenarios, I'm excited for it, and then they move on. But you shouldn't really be excited for it because it's so random. And randomness is not bad, but I made an entire video about how early game randomness is bad, and if somebody coins out a Barnes on turn 3 and they roll a Cairn Bloodhoof or a Tyrion off of it, I uninstall the game.
Okay. Holy shit. Dude, true, man. All right, Barnes is, oh my God. Okay, but without going like too much in detail here, Barnes just as a card is a really horrible design because the 4-mana card on the spot could decide the outcome of the game, right? The difference of you summoning like a Savannah Highmane versus like a shitty beast was ginormous, right? But also, he's right. There was a Shaman deck where you play this, you play Yasharaj. It was the only minion in your deck. You summon a 10/10 on the board. And then your opponent, if they don't have removal, just kind of loses the game on the spot. Barnes also enabled a lot of fucking degen priest decks in the future. And this card was so fucking good, by the way, that in Wild, it was still so dominant until they finally nerfed the card to 5 mana. This is one of the worst design cards of all time in Hearthstone. And it was so impactful that it was just miserable. Sorry for swearing. But like this card, it was unfun. And it's crazy to think in an expansion that had that Shaman deck, this card still reigns supreme as the most fucked card from that set. It blows my mind. Blows my mind. What a horror. Okay, anyways. Fuck this card.
I uninstall the game.
Big thanks to Zealous Demon for his video. Made gathering footage to the section most easier. Yeah, shout out to Zealous Demon. Bro, we still have 16 minutes for this.
Okay,
Let's go.
fine.
I love these videos. David, you kill it, man.
You guys can see the scruffy guy.
It's not high impact enough for Hunter to play this card because you're going to have other options at 5 mana, such as Knuckles, who I think is also an auto include. Yeah, it's a pretty good card. I mean, the numbers are big and the mana cost number is not very big.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, I thought I was hearing something. Hold on. What are you saying this?
You guys can see the scruffy guy.
It's not high impact enough for Hunter to play this card because you're going to have other options at 5 mana, such as Knuckles, who I think is also an auto include. Yeah, it's a pretty good card. I mean, the numbers are big and the mana cost number is not very big. Yep.
Knuckles. I was actually surprised to rate this card 4 stars. When I first looked at it, I was like, 3/7 for 5 mana. It falls under my rating of like a good statted minion. But here's the thing. Knuckles benefits like double with hand buff mechanics. You're gonna punch minions and then you're going to also punch face. Good stuff.
Why do you want to hit minions in the first place? If you use Knuckles to hit the hero, you might as well be playing a Tiger instead. But at the end of the day, I think this is a little bit too cute. I think this is still a good card though, but it's a little bit too cute. So I'll give it a 2 stars because 2 stars is the ranking we give for situational cards.
This one was a tough one.
Oh God! Give me a sec before we get there, Trump. Jesus Christ. Okay, this one's really interesting. Before we even get to this, it's important to state that there was 3 different gangs. There was the Jade Lotus, there was the Cabal, and there was the Grimy Goons. The Grimy Goons was Hunter, Paladin, Warrior, and their like main thing was hand buffs. So they kind of built the whole expansion for the Grimy Goons around the hand buff concept. For those of you who played during Mean Streets of Gadgeton, by the way, kind of shit. So Knuckles, with the concept in mind that hand buffing was going to be really good, was actually not the worst thing in the world because this is a 5 mana 3/7, but by the time you actually play it, there's a potential that it's a much bigger minion that not only trades for the board, but also damages your face.
2 stars is the ranking we give for situational cards.
This one was a tough one for me to rate 2 stars. Ultimately, Life Tap, Thought Steal, Arcane Intellect all outclass it.
I don't know if you even play this in your Reno deck. Maybe you do.
Oh man, this one stings, dude. This one hurts
so bad. It's possible that it's worth it anyway because you get a chance of getting the legendary Reno cards. But
now, why I think this one is the best one of the cycle of all the draw cards is because Mage, Priest, and Warlock cards are the best cards to discover. Okay, so I would actually give this a 3 stars. Like you would play this. Or strongly consider it when you're building a Reno deck.
Obviously.
Okay, before we get to Donnie, dude, I can't believe this shit. This card was, okay, to be fair, we have to make this very clear. Like I said earlier in the video, the best deck in the game for a very long time there for a hot minute was anything related to Pirate Warrior, okay? Or anything to do with pirates, because Patches the Pirate was pretty fucking good. So a lot of the other decks were just tier 2 to anything that you did with Pirate. So, but they didn't know that at the time. We have to make that very clear. So I can't remember how good Cabal Courier was before Patches was nerfed. Well, Patches didn't get nerfed at all. Before they nerfed, he got nerfed later. Before they nerfed the Buccaneer card, the 1-drop that I said earlier. Cabal Courier, though, ended up being a really good card for the Cabal. It was played in Priest. It was played in Warlock. It was played in Mage. All 3 of them played it, and it was good in Highlander. I can't remember if it was played in like 2 of decks, but I feel like if you were going to play Control anyways, or like a slower deck, it was usually going to be for Highlander because Reno was a really good card at the time, and it still is.
You would play this.
But
or
Pirate decks were like the big things to be doing.
Obviously, this card is absolutely crazy strong. Just, the raw stats, it's basically a 7 mana 10/11. That's huge. That's like craziest level of stats in the late game. I think all the gang bosses, this being one of them, will see some form of play, and I imagine this will be in a lot of decks.
It's a big vanilla dude, which takes your entire turn to play, and then he lets you spend another entire turn to play another big vanilla dude, and then you wait a third turn, and then that big vanilla dude that you played gets to attack. It's just too slow. I just don't see this being played much.
Don Honcho. That is a very powerful card because it's statted very aggressively. So Don Honcho, if you live to survive to play Don Honcho and the card it buffs, you're getting 7 mana for 10, 11 worth of stats. There weren't that many aggressive cards printed. In fact, I can't even think of a single aggressive card. Patches the Pirate with Patches the Pirate.
Okay, hold on. Before we get there. Okay, Don Honcho sucked ass. All right, I don't want to hear anybody in my comment section or in the chat right now telling me this card was played. This card sucked. Okay, even if you played it, it felt bad. It never felt good. It was always bad. Maybe you got one chance where it hit your King Crush and you shat your pants because it was like, holy shit, we finally made it. Or hit your Leroy. But it was bad.
In fact, I can't even think of a single aggressive
now, he might be sarcastic here. Let's talk about this real fast. I did a video a while ago called The Best Legendary in Hearthstone, which was basically like King of the Hill format. Now, I called Patches the Pirate the best legendary of all time in Hearthstone, right? This is the nerf version of it, right? Like it still is played in Wild, and it is very, very good. It is very, very good. I cannot understate how powerful Patches the Pirate was in Standard. Okay, it was fucking insane. I remember it so much because Reynad literally made a video during this expansion talking about how there's no point to play anything else but pirates, no matter what class you're playing, because Patches the Pirate was so good. I cannot tell you how excited I am to watch these reviews.
Patches the Pirate with Patches the Pirate. When you play your turn 1 Nazos first mate, you're not only getting a 1/1, you're also getting another 1/1 with charge, and you're getting in 1 damage with that. Patches the Pirate is like your opponent starts at 27 health instead of 30.
If you just have like 4-ish plus pirates in your deck, it's just actually really good. It's a pretty good card.
Oh my god, this card is going to tilt me more than like anything else in this expansion. Is the card good? Yes. It may single-handedly make Tempo Rogue a actual deck. It's powerful. I'll see playing every pirate deck moving forward. It's an inherently broken effect. There's a reason that they've avoided printing this card at the same time Ship's Cannon was in the format. Patches is strong. Patches is super strong.
So let me explain this why it is a 5-star card. Patches the Pirate doesn't cost you a card because you play it from your deck. That is really, really strong. Like, imagine if Wisp draws you a card. That would be the most stupid card ever. That's a 0 mana Novice Engineer. This is a 0 mana 1/1 charge. Draws you a card.
Some people, lots of people, mostly the masses, although pro players mostly got this right, we're like, whatever, it's an extra 1/1, who cares? Turns out, extra 1/1, really, really important.
And I think there's actually a really, really big problem with the meta right now. This fucker is in every deck. And this is in every deck because it is the worst designed Hearthstone card of all time. Every single deck can play Patches. The best version of every single deck, in my opinion, moving forward through Kobolds will be Patches. What are some good decks, Reynad? Here's a Tempo Rogue list that's solid. Tier 1 deck. It's an excellent deck. Okay, I mean, what's another good deck? Warlock got a lot of new tools. It got a cool, like, Spellstone to gain life with. It got Skull of Manon, blah, blah, blah. Oakenheart, all these sick cards. Well, the best Warlock deck's actually just Zoo. And, you know, of course, Warlock doesn't have weapons, but let's put pirates in it anyway, just because we can. Because Patches is so well balanced that the best 3-drop in the game is actually South Sea Captain in a deck with no other pirates. Well, okay, I mean, Zoo has always been a good deck, right? So, I mean, it's not that surprising that it's good after it got a couple new tools. That's fine, right? As metagame's safe. What about Druid? Druid got some cool cards. It got Twig. Let's build a cool Druid deck. Let's play Arcane Tyrant, and Ultimate Infestation's so broken, and there's all these good cards and tools. It's a good deck. You know, it's better than Pirates. This is the best Druid deck. Play some Pirates and shit. Okay, I mean, I'm being a little unfair, right? I've listed a few classes that already had archetypes that took advantage of patches, archetypes that pretty much has gotten new tools and were already strong. What about a deck like Hunter that never saw play before, right? I mean, it got so many cool new options, right? I mean, there's like Flanking Strike now. What's the best Hunter card that it got in the new expansion? Well, actually, it's just Candle Shot, because you needed a way to enable fucking South Sea Deckhand. This is the best Hunter deck. You know what Mage is good at? Pirates. You play fucking Pirates in everything. You play Corridor Creeper in everything because you have patches, and patches enables Corridor Creeper. Do you think Recruit Warrior is good? No, Pirates. Like, you do it with everything. Like, and props to Blizzard, right? I mean, they made every class playable because every class is the same deck. I think this needs to get addressed, and I think the problem is not Corridor Creeper, but I think the problem is patches. Something needs to change about that card. It needs to, like, die at end of turn or something. I don't know.
Sergeant Sally was in.
So that was the video I was actually talking about, where Patches the Pirate was something else, man. It was something special. I think in a standard format, Patches the Pirate might have been the most impactful legendary of all time. Might have been. Like, I was talking about Yogg, but Patches ended up being like insane. And when we did that like best legendary video, I didn't realize the card wasn't nerfed until Kobolds and Catacombs. Like, they left that card in the game for literally a full fucking year before they nerfed it. Which is crazy. Which is absolutely crazy. Anyways, Patches the Pirate ended up, this is probably my opinion, but I still think Patches the Pirate, at least in the standard format, was the best legendary ever made up until United and Stormwind came out. Because there's one legendary that I think was better. There's one legendary, which is the questline for Warlock. That was the only one I think was slightly better than Patches the Pirate.
Die at end of turn or something. I don't know.
Sergeant Sally was an amazing card revealed earlier, and it has some significant synergies. It is extremely powerful with Power Overwhelming, and I think in general it's just pretty good in a deck that has a lot of buffs. At least the three classes that have the option to play those cards, the buff cards while they're in your hand, will also appreciate this card. Just a very smooth and nice board clear.
Sally's a good card, like a very, very good card. It's going to take some time to figure out the optimal place to put it, though. But it's possible that like Zoo with, abusives and double Power Overwhelming is where it should be.
I feel like the Sergeant Sally is kind of like a Circle of Healing, where if you do not combo it, it's a bad card. Yep. So I would give this a 1-star because you have to combo this for it to be good. And, you lose your Power Overwhelming for your Leroy Power Overwhelming Faceless combo. Why do you want to play a 3-mana 4/5? Okay, that's actually wild. Okay, Sergeant Sally was really interesting because almost every single person who was reviewing that card, I'm always excluded. I remember a wide majority of content creators really thought that Sergeant Sally was going to be really good with Power Overwhelming. Because you would play this with Power Overwhelming for 4 mana. You have a 4-mana 5/5 on board that deals 5 damage to all enemy minions. That, in theory, sounds like a really good combo, right? Like, I think a lot of us, like, even nowadays, isn't the worst thing in the world. But it was weird because, just like Amaz said, if you had Sergeant Sally, but you didn't have the Power Overwhelming, this card's bad. You wouldn't want to play it. And there was no other class in the game that wanted to play this class or this card, because why would I want to kill a minion? Why would I want to buff a minion that I want to die, right? It's really interesting. And like, if you needed a board clear, most of the time your class had a different way of doing it. So for instance, Shadow Flame existed in Warlock, right? Shadow Flame was good. Sergeant Sally, on the other hand, like, ended up being bad. I think maybe it was it was definitely tried. Like, it wasn't like people just like tried it once and said like, fuck you, this card. Like, it was definitely played for a small bit, but it ended up being pretty bad. Warming for your Leroy Power Warming Faceless combo. Why do you want to play a 3-mana 4/5 taunt anyways? Right? Like, you just don't. Like, you just really don't. There are just so many better options. Even at 3 mana. Like, 3-mana 4/5 taunt against Zoo is arguably still not good enough. It's a 0 mana. It's a 0-star card, and it's not gonna get played.
Second-rate Bruiser is not in the 2-star category and has made its way into the 3-star. 3-mana 4/5 taunt is a good card. It's going to depend on the meta on whether or not there are many minions out. Currently, I'm not foreseeing that meta, but it's difficult to see that far into the future. This card sees play in almost every Reno lock deck. This card, therefore, will earn a 5-star rating. Turns out people had at least 3 minions on turn 3 a lot of the time. So for Rathion, I did the...
Okay, oh my god, Rathion, that's a card. This one's really interesting because I feel like if it wasn't for Highlander, this card wouldn't have seen, like, any play. just because like you didn't really want to put this into your deck, but it was like a fine 30th card because like if you so happen to go against aggro, like you're probably okay with it. In arena, it's probably okay, but like I think a 3-star rating was like really good. He gave it a 5-star because it ended up Highlander decks were still pretty good. So it saw play in like meta decks, which was like where Trump does his like star ratings on. But like I don't know, I feel like it was just mainly played because like in Highlander, like you needed some extra cards to fill out the curve, but it was fine. Like it was good against like the pirate deck. Like if a 3-mana 4/5 was like good enough against pirates, but it wasn't like enough to like win you a game. But I think that's all like a 3-drop you can ask for, right?
Far into the future. This card sees play in almost every Reno lock deck.
You really needed
this
it in like
card,
an aggro.
therefore,
and like he's saying in Reno lock because Reno lock needed to have it a way to get to like the mid and late game because obviously the deck wasn't winning in the early game against Pirate Warrior.
Will earn a 5 Pantheon.
I just want to mention it too, like for people who played during that time, it's really hard to look back on the year after Old Gods where you didn't see like I can really only remember Aggro Shaman, Barnes, Pirate Warrior, and like Reno Lock. Like a lot of it is just it's so hard to remember what other classes were doing. Like it's I don't know, it's crazy. J Druid wasn't really good until like maybe mid Mean Streets. I don't know, it's interesting. It's tough because you have to remember like what was in the game. Anyways, let's continue. That's all I really remember though. Okay, Wrathion.
Suppose you're running about a third of your deck as dragon. You're going to on average draw 1.5 cards. It means that a majority of the time you're drawing 1 card, but sometimes you're drawing 2 cards, even fewer times you're drawing 3 cards. Very occasionally you're drawing 4 cards, but it all averages out to about 1.5. The chances get better the more dragons you have in there as well. And I feel like that's good enough to warrant a slot in the dragon deck. Okay, that math is absolutely correct, by the way. And
okay, before he talks about this, Devin, thanks for $2, bro. I hope you're doing well. Thank you. Can you explain why you believe United Storm is the worst expansion? I'm going to sum it up in one sentence, and you can agree or disagree with the sentiment, but I think Hearthstone is at its worst when it discourages you to play minions on board. And if you remember what United Storm was, most of the time, not most of the time, you literally would lose games if you played minions, which is horrible design pattern. So that's why I think it's the worst. Obviously, it's more nuanced, but like that would be like the one sentence line.
it turns out that that's not quite good enough. Part of it is also because of meta. The initial review was done assuming a meta of mid-range and control. Wrathion, card advantage machine in a dragon deck? Sure. So you can see why it's rated as a 4-star and people tried it out. It wasn't quite consistent enough.
Not a very good constructed card.
It's also, okay, hold on a second. I realized that he did like the re-review after seeing what the metagame was, because obviously no one could have predicted how powerful Patches was going to be. Well, they did, like the Pyro deck, I should say, sorry. This card still sucked. This card's awful. You never, like, you would rather just draw cards than like try to draw dragons. Like, I can't remember a time where this card legitimately saw play. Because like in Wild, like if you're running like a huge dragon deck, like you would consider it, but there was never a reason, because every class that wanted to run dragons anyways had a different way of drawing, or this card was just like a 6-mana 4/5 with taunt.
And people tried it out. It wasn't quite consistent enough.
Not a very good constructed card in my opinion, just because there's so many good options out there for the control style Warlock decks. Having this is like, I don't know. It just seems a bit overkill.
This is a card that I think is just pretty terrible. Like, even in Reno, where you want more hard removal, like Siphon Soul, you're only really happy playing this card on turn 10, if you can use the word happy. I don't think you need Blast Crystal Potion. I don't think this is necessary. You would never play it.
Can we just talk about real fast before we continue? Did you guys know that Siphon Soul is 4 mana right now? Isn't that insane? Like, if you need like a here's how far power creep has gone in Hearthstone, Siphon Soul's 4 mana, and it doesn't see play.
It's just like a normal card.
Obviously, you go like, wow, Assassinate is not played. Right? Assassinate is a bad card. 5 mana. Nobody wants to play that card. But you also need to remember that it is on Rogue. Rogues do not need Assassinate because they have a better Assassinate. It's called Sap. So I think this is not a bad card for Reno Lock. I rate this like... It's really close to making this a 4-star, but Reno Lock already has a lot of good cards, so I'll put this at a 3-star. It's a good card. I don't think it's bad.
All it takes is
Dude,
2+.
Moz is like killing it, man. Moz is really smart. This card saw play. It didn't see play in 2 copy versions, but in Highlander Warlock decks, it did actually see play. It was like, it didn't feel great to play, but a 4-mana destroy a minion at the time was actually like, okay. Even with the downside, and Raynad's right, like you would prefer to play this at 10 mana, so like you technically didn't lose a mana crystal, but sometimes you didn't have a better option, and it was played as like a 1 copy of in Highlander.
Card. So I'll put this at a 3-star. It's a good card. I don't think it's bad.
All it takes is 2+1/+1 buffs or 1+2/+2 buff. You're playing a 6-mana 6/6. Draw 2 cards. So I feel like this is going to make, alongside Doppelgangster, make the hand buff mechanic really strong.
If you were just using
Oh man, that's crazy. Okay, this is also really interesting because Fight Promoter, okay, I should actually go back a step further. Card draw back in this day was not good. All right, let's be real here. Like there was some classes just didn't have great ways of drawing. So the logic was if you could buff this card, and they probably thought Grimy Goons was going to be a lot better in hindsight, right? So if you just buff this card, you play it, not only do you get a 6-mana 6/6 or 6-mana 4/6, whatever you want to do, you also drew 2 cards with it, which is a big deal, right? Like if Ancient of Lore was being played for a 7-mana 5/5 to draw 2 cards, people were like, oh yeah, like it's neutral too and everything. But dude, it just, God. Okay, any Arena players in chat remember if this card got played? This card was not played in Constructed. But again, to be fair, if we remember what the metagame is, it's like Patches the Pirate and Pirate Warrior decks. So how could a card like this even have time to see play if you're just going to fucking die? You know what I mean?
Alongside Doppelgangster, make the hand
this is a real card
mechanic
for it.
really strong.
If you were just using this to stall the game in order for you to get to the later turns in the game, so again, could be used in either in a control deck or in an aggressive deck where you're just really going all in, though I think it would favor mostly the control style deck.
Whenever you summon a minion, deal 5 damage to your hero.
What the hell was
even have a
cooking there?
drawback
What?
the turn that you play it. Turn that you play it, it's just a 3-mana 5/5. The main problem is in the future turns. That's a really high statted minion. It'll see play in Reno Lock, probably.
Shadow.
Dude, what the hell? Okay, that is wild to me. 3-mana 5/5. Yeah, you're right. This card was kind of like a big statted boy. And we talked about earlier how like they got excited for a 3-mana 3/5. 3-mana 5/5 demon. Sheesh. This card was awful. The problem with this card is it almost always did more damage to you than it did to your opponents. And I feel like the only time you see this card ever in your life is if it's randomly generated. Like I think maybe people tried it out and were like, wow, I'm taking a lot of damage. I'm just fucking dying. Think about the synergy with Demon Seed. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, this card sucked. Reno Lock ended up playing much more early game minions because of the meta. Yeah, but I don't remember them playing this, because if you're playing minions to stop you from taking damage, why would you want to play a minion that stops you from playing more minions, but also makes you take damage? You know what I mean? Like, downsides of a card are not bad. Like, for instance, there's a card like Fell Reaver, right? Which was like a 5-mana 8/8. Every time your opponent like played a card, you like lost 3 cards from your deck. That card was still played because, yeah, like it doesn't, yeah, you're losing the cards, but it's almost like you didn't have those cards in your deck and you have tempo in the board. This card was just like, not it.
Statted minion. It'll see play in Reno Lock, probably.
Shadow Rager. I guess the Ragers are not done yet.
First of all, we got Freezing Potion. They
going.
needed a way to nerf all of the potion-giving cards by throwing in some hot garbage, or cold garbage in this case. Moving on, we have a card that I'm surprised there's been so little discussion about this card. This card worries me so much. Greater Arcane Missiles. Whew. I am surprised that they made this card. Greater Arcane Missiles, compared to an 8-mana deal 10, this is a 7-mana deal 9 on an empty board, and that's if they have no board, right, and you have no spell power. That alone is like a good card to play in a winning position or at a stalemate position. It's like, how do I describe this? It's like a Flame Strike that's not dead in control matchups. It just seems nuts to me. Like,
if you get to smork the
What? Sorry, I gotta listen to logic again. Hold on, what?
Spell power. That alone is like a compared to an 8 mana deal 10, this is a 7 mana deal 9 on an empty board, and that's if they have no board, right, and you have no spell power. That alone is like a good card to play in a winning position or at a stalemate position. It's like, how do I describe this? It's like a flame strike that's not dead in control matchups. It just seems nuts to me. Like,
if you
wow, that's I'm so like interesting. I guess he's right. Like, if your opponent has nothing on the board and you play a 7 mana deal 9, that's not bad, right? Like, Pyroblast went to 10 mana and it was 10 mana deal 10 damage. So like that card was like, that was like, damn, like that's how much 10 damage should cost. So like 7 mana deal 9. Sheesh, bro. Yeah, this card ended up being pretty bad.
Like, that's not dead in this matchups. Just seems nuts to me. Like,
if you get to Smork the face, this turns into a random 6 mana 1/1. I mean, a 6 mana minion. And that's pretty cool, right? Like, it's a little bit understated, it's fine. But the upside of this card, I think, is high enough that you want to play this, right? So I would rate this guy kind of... I want to be very optimistic with this card because 4 mana summon a random 6 cost minion is pretty damn sweet. I would give this 4 stars just because I believe in this. I really believe in cheating the curve, right?
Okay. Before we get to whatever that is, I can't wait to see that. Dude, I'm gonna, without even telling you if the card was good or not, I'm gonna tell you guys a small little story here, okay? I'm gonna tell you guys a little small story. When I first started making the Do You Know Hearthstones, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically a series where I get a content creator and I show them a card and I ask them, do you think this card is real? Because I would change like text or the stat number, right? When I was going through older cards in Hearthstone, I didn't think this card was real. Like, even seeing it in the Hearthstone card library, I couldn't believe this card was real because I have never in my whole time playing Hearthstone, I have played this game since closed beta. I have never seen this card get played. I have never seen this card actually resolve. And I've never seen this card. I have never personally put this card in my deck. So as far as you guys can know, this card was pretty bad. Like, that's crazy to me. All right. What is, David, you want me to keep my camera to the left here or whatever you're about to do with this the last 5 minutes? Okay.
I really believe in cheating the curve, right?
Best card in Priest, oh baby, it's the best card in Priest. This, I think, is the best card that has been printed for Priest because it is the ultimate enabler. Pint-sized potion. Oh! Oh! This card is the sickest card. I think this card is amazing. This card is insane. Like, holy fuckamole. Are we serious right now? Is this really happening? Like, I'm not sure this is real life right now. Did we go down the rabbit hole where there's a shitty game designer who's like, you know what? I think Priest needs to win all their games and they made this? Are we serious right now?
Okay, I'm gonna have to interrupt each time. Pint-sized potion was a good card. He's not wrong. It wasn't like, oh my god, you're gonna win the game every single time this card's played. Because I think in his mind, the thought process was, if you have minions and then you play pint-sized potion, you get to trade into all their minions, and then like they cry themselves to sleep. This card was played, but it wasn't like game winning.
Right now. A 3-4 for 3.
Okay, David, what is the context for this? Was he like drinking, reviewing cards? Rat Pack did see play. It was a fine card in like mid-range hunter. It wasn't like insane, but it did end up seeing play. Yeah, it took him like 4 hours. God, I should do that. Chat, next expansion, remind me to do this. That sounds really fun. It sounds really fun. We should definitely do that. Okay. The card Rat Pack was played.
A 3-4 for 3, already the stat line is good, but this, choose a friendly minion, shuffle a copy into your deck. Oh. If I were dating an alley cat, I would...
Okay, oh my god. It's killing me here. Okay, Soulcaster was played in Highlander Mage. Absolutely. Can't remember if it was played anywhere else.
Oh. If I were dating an alley cat, I would break up with it and tell it it was me when it's really the alley cat. Weirdly, I think this card's actually quite good.
Did this mean he thought it was bad? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Alley cat was good. Alley cat was a good card. It saw play. It saw play. It saw play.
It was me. When it's
I don't
really
remember if it saw play in Mean Streets, but it was play.
Alley cat. Weirdly, I think this card's actually quite good. I think this is quite a good card.
Okay, oh my god, this is insane. Did I like slow this down? What did I just do? What is this?
Quite a good card.
Okay. We talked about this card already, not great.
Let me stop for a moment. Let me think about what I've just said. Let me think about what I've done. I saw this.
All right. And Wild card was nuts. It was very good. They actually recently nerfed it so that says the next secret you play costs 1. Now in standard chat, was it good? I think it was played. I'm pretty sure it was played. It wasn't like as like the thing about Secret Mage and Wild was like it hit a critical mass, and Secret Mage became really good. So like you play this, you got a 2/1 and a free secret. Like that was really good. I think it was played in Highlander Mage for sure. I just can't remember how good it was. I think it was good. I think it was played because this card was printed at the same time as the Valet dude in Mage for Karazhan. So like you definitely were like okay with going Cabal Lackey into that dude on turn 3 or on turn 2 and dealing 3 damage. I just don't remember how good it actually ended up being. I think it was fine, but in Wild obviously it was much better.
I saw this card. I think this card sucks ass. This is a terrible card. I think this card is awful. Sucks. I think.
So Reno Mage is separated into 2 categories. Some with the burn version with Ink Master, some with a more value proposition or defensive option. Ink Master Solia didn't end up in every single Reno Mage deck. She's pretty popular, and I think it's a very cool effect. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 4-star rating.
I cannot at all imagine a single situation where this card is good. I also think.
Okay. I gotta watch this VOD where he's just drunk off his ass. Okay, Ink Master Solia is really interesting because she wasn't like the greatest Highlander card. It's funny to think that mana cheating at this level was not good enough because Ink Master, in Highlander Mage, you had Reno, you had Kazakis, and you had Solia. But again, I could be wrong, but like I don't remember Solia being like insane, but she definitely saw play. She saw play, but it wasn't like, holy shit, I'm getting Solia'd, right? I think that's what it was. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't like amazing.
All imagine a single situation where this card is good. I also think that this has potential. Actually, wait a fucking minute. Redemption would be better than this anyways. This card sucks. Nope. I take it back. Take it back. Okay, no. I think it's. I'll still put it as like 1 step above. I'll put it back where it was before.
Getaway Coda was fine. I honestly, I don't think it was like insane, but it was okay. Like you sometimes, I think I only saw this card because it was generated by Hydrologist. Is that the Murloc and Paladin for Ungoro? I don't remember this card being that good though. I think it was only discovered where you played this card. Like this card wasn't really played.
I'll still put it as like 1 step.
It's so hard reviewing what Day 9's saying because he's going ape shit.
I don't think this will be very good. I just don't see the value in this that is better than one of the cheapo guys. Well, I don't know if Brian Kibler's pheromones are in my room or if I just can't stop thinking about him as is.
Okay, so we gotta handle both those things. This card was good. It wasn't insane, but it did see play. It turned out like this was like an auto kill card. Like you had to kill. It's like Emperor Thorson almost. Like you had to kill this card. The Brian Kibler Brian Kibler review, absolutely 100%. Absolutely 100%.
Kibler's pheromones are in my room, or if I just can't stop thinking about it.
Everything you just said, I agree with.
This card is sensational. This is probably the best card we've seen. I think so. I think it's the best card we've seen. I mean, wow, this card is insane.
Hey, ass.
So I think it's the best card we've seen. I mean,
wow,
this card is insane. You know, I actually think this might be a fucking ridiculous card. I actually think this card's going to be ridiculous. Not great, not great. I wouldn't run it in any control decks. I think there's a few decks where this is going to be sensational. I think in a Flood Paladin, this is going to be amazing. I think this card's bad.
Nuts card. Really, 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 really good card. Really good card.
I think this card's bad. Counterfeit coin. Gain 1 mana crystal this turn only. No, I don't think I don't like this.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy is this card literally is 0 mana Innervate. It's Innervate right now. Does anyone remember when Innervate was nerfed, by the way? Innervate used to say 0 mana gain 2 mana crystals this turn only. And that card was insane. Now it says 1 mana crystal this turn only and it's still played. So it's funny that he saw this and said it's ass.
No. I think this is a weak card. I think it's a strictly weak card. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to stop looking at me. I'm going to close my eyes. Oh, thank God I'm not looking at me. Oh, God, I need a drink. Raza the Chain. Oh, this card. Oh, gosh. I don't know. I don't... Okay. I don't think this is great. I really don't think this is great. I don't think this is great.
Okay. Oh my God. Raza. Okay. Before Anduin was introduced, Raza was like an okay card. Like you were sad playing it, but you were like, whatever. Like it wasn't insane. This card really started to shake people's hindquarters once Anduin was introduced in Knights of the Frozen Throne. Card was fine. Like you weren't, but like Highlander Priest was not. I mean, Highlander Priest was fine because I think Dragon Priest was more popular. I can't remember when Dragon Priest was good. So she'd say, but Raza was like whatever. Like you needed Anduin.
This is great. I don't think this is great.
You weren't building Highlander Priest, is what I'm basically saying. Holy shit, dude! That's so. We gotta do that next time we do a card review. I'll get fucking wasted for a card review. I think that'd be hilarious. Anyways, that was the second episode of the worst reviews ever, guys. Can I get a huge shout out for David for not only getting this is his idea for the record. So shout out to David for not only getting the footage but editing it all together in such a phenomenal way. Who's David? David's my editor, bro. David's the GOAT. Shout out to David. Really cool idea. It's so fun. It's so fun doing these. And I believe David said there's one more episode. So make sure you subscribe. Also, that's gonna be it for this. I want to make this very clear, chat. David is also almost finished. I don't know how far he actually is. David, you'd have to update me. But the Darkest Dungeon video should be out soon, and David is literally editing like the entire thing, and he's done actually 3D animation for the video. So I've only seen a very brief amount of it. I'm fucking amped to see what he does with this video. I can't wait to see it. So I'm really excited. Anyways, chat, that's gonna be it for me, guys. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Happy Boxing Day for those who celebrate Boxing Day. I will be live tomorrow for some stuff. We got a bunch of shit cooking for next month, so I really hope you guys are excited. I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Stay cute, stay safe. And what are we boxing? Good question. I'm gonna play an ad. I'll find some guys story for you for Twitch, YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys later. Have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys later, chat. Thanks for watching, guys.